The seatbelt sign lit up. I slowly opened my eyes. For a moment, I forgot where I was. Then I looked out the window. White clouds, a bright blue sky, and below them, a city. A city I had never seen before. I couldn't stop smiling. After months of planning, saving money, studying English, and dreaming about this moment, I was finally here. A calm voice came through the speakers. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be landing in approximately 10 minutes. Please return to your seats and fasten your seatbelts. Thank you. I took a slow breath. This was it. My new life was about to begin. Oh, I almost forgot. Hi, I'm Sarah. Welcome to Learn English Daily. I'm so happy you're here. From today, you're coming with me. We'll travel together. We'll meet new people. We'll solve little problems. We'll make mistakes. We'll laugh at them. And little by little, English won't feel like a subject anymore. It will simply become part of your life. So don't worry if you don't understand everything. You don't need to. Just stay with me. Ready? Let's begin. I looked around the airplane. Most people were quiet. A man closed his laptop. A little girl rested her head on her mother's shoulder. Someone folded a newspaper. A flight attendant walked slowly down the aisle. Everyone was preparing to leave. I opened my backpack. First, my passport. Still there? Good. Then my phone. Good. My wallet? Perfect. Whenever I travel, I always check these 3 things. Passport, phone, wallet. Your turn. Say them with me. Passport, phone, wallet. Excellent. You'll hear these words many times during our journey. Outside, the airplane was flying lower. Now I could see roads, cars, trees, buildings. Everything looked smaller than I imagined, but somehow it also felt closer, more real. My heart was beating faster. Not because I was afraid, because I was excited. Have you ever felt excited and nervous at the same time? That's exactly how I felt. A few moments later, the wheels touched the runway. The airplane landed safely. Some passengers clapped. Others smiled. I smiled too. We made it. The captain spoke one last time. Welcome. We hope you enjoy your stay. Welcome. What a beautiful word. Sometimes, one simple word can make you feel at home. Remember it? You'll hear it again today. The airplane stopped. Nobody moved. Everyone waited. A few seconds later, the seatbelt sign turned off. People stood up. Some reached for their bags. Others stretched after the long flight. I stayed where I was. Travel has taught me something. There is no prize for leaving the airplane first. Sometimes, waiting 1 extra minute makes everything easier. When the line became shorter, I picked up my backpack. Then I walked toward the door. The flight attendant smiled. Thank you for flying with us. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. You too. You'll hear you too everywhere. Someone says, have a nice day. You answer, you too. Someone says, have a great weekend. You answer, you too. It's simple, natural, and very common. I stepped out of the airplane. Cool air touched my face. The airport was bright, modern, and much bigger than I expected. People were walking in every direction. Some looked tired. Some looked excited. Some were saying hello. Others were saying goodbye. I looked up. Large signs hung from the ceiling. Arrivals, restrooms, baggage claim, immigration. I smiled. One word caught my attention. Immigration. That was my next stop. I followed the sign. Without realizing it, my adventure had already begun. I followed the signs. The airport was busy. People walked beside me. Some were talking. Some were looking at their phones. Others were pulling heavy suitcases. Every few meters, I saw the same word again. Immigration. I knew I was going the right way. The hallway seemed endless, but I didn't mind. Everything around me was new. Every sound, every face, every sign. Finally, I reached a large hall. There were several lines. Each line led to an immigration officer. I quietly joined the line. There were only a few people in front of me. Good. Maybe it wouldn't take long. I looked around. A young couple was smiling as they filled out a form. An older man was reading a small notebook. A family was trying to keep their little boy busy. He wanted to run everywhere. His mother laughed. His father picked him up. Everyone had their own story. And today, mine was just beginning. I checked my passport one more time. Still there? Good. Then I smiled. I was checking it too often. Maybe I was a little nervous after all. Have you ever done that? Checked your pocket? Even though you already knew everything was there? I think we've all done it. The line moved forward. One person. Then another. Soon. It was my turn. I walked to the counter. The officer looked up. He smiled politely. Good morning. Good morning. May I see your passport, please? Of course. I handed him my passport. He opened it, looked at my photo, then looked at me. For a second, nobody spoke. Then he asked, "What is the purpose of your visit?" Before I answered, "Let's see if you understood the question." What did he ask? Listen one more time. What is the purpose of your visit? The purpose means the reason. Why are you here? Now listen to my answer. I'm here to study English. Very simple. Very natural. The officer nodded. How long will you be staying? I had prepared for this question. I'll be staying for 6 months. He typed something into his computer. Then he asked, Where will you be staying? At the Green Park Hotel, he smiled again. Is this your first visit? Yes, it is. Welcome. I hope you enjoy your stay. Thank you. I hope so too. He stamped my passport, then handed it back. You're all set. Have you heard that expression before? You're all set. It simply means everything is ready. You can go. You'll hear it in many places. At airports, hotels, shops, restaurants. It's a very useful expression. I smiled. Thank you. Have a great day. You too. There it was again. You too. The second time today, I placed my passport safely back into my backpack. This time, I checked twice. Not because I was nervous, because I didn't want to lose it. I walked toward the next sign. Baggage claim. One step closer. One step deeper. Into my new life. I followed the signs to baggage claim. The hallway became quieter. Then, I heard it. The soft sound of suitcase wheels rolling across the floor. People were arriving from different flights. Some looked happy. Some looked tired. Some were already talking on the phone. I walked into a large room. There were several baggage belts. Each one had a large screen above it. I looked for my flight number. There it was. Flight 247. Belt 6. Perfect. I walked over and found a place to stand. The belt was still empty. People waited patiently. No one seemed to be in a hurry. A few seconds later, the belt began to move. Slowly, very slowly. One suitcase appeared. Then another. Then another. A man smiled as he picked up a black suitcase. A little girl waved excitedly when she saw a bright pink one. Everyone watched the belt, waiting for their luggage. I watched carefully, too. Most suitcases looked almost the same. Black, gray, dark blue. That's why I tied a bright yellow ribbon to my suitcase before I left home. It was easy to find. A small idea, but a very helpful one. Can you guess what color my ribbon was? That's right. Yellow. A few more bags passed by. Then I saw it. My blue suitcase with the yellow ribbon. There you are, I whispered. I picked it up carefully. It felt a little heavier than I remembered. I laughed. Maybe I packed too many clothes. Or maybe too many books. I placed the suitcase beside me. Then I looked around. Passport? Yes. Backpack? Yes. Suitcase? Yes. Everything was with me. That felt good. As I started walking away, I noticed a young man looking confused. He picked up a suitcase, looked at the tag, then quickly put it back. He laughed. Wrong suitcase? The woman next to him smiled. It happens. He laughed again. I guess they all look the same. She was right. Sometimes they really do. I continued walking toward the exit. Ahead of me, I saw another sign. Customs. There were 2 lanes. One said, "Nothing to declare." The other said, "Goods to declare." I had nothing special with me, so I walked into the first lane. A customs officer smiled politely. "Good afternoon." "Good afternoon. Do you have anything to declare?" "No." He nodded. "All right. You're all set." There was that expression again. "You're all set." I smiled. "Thank you. Enjoy your stay." "Thank you very much." I took a few more steps. Then, the automatic doors opened. Bright sunlight filled the entrance. People were waiting behind a barrier. Some were holding flowers. Some were holding balloons. Others held small signs with people's names. I could hear laughter. Someone shouted, "Welcome home." A little boy ran into his grandmother's arms. 2 friends hugged each other. A family waved excitedly. For a moment, I stopped walking. I simply watched. Everyone was happy to see someone. I smiled. Even though no one was waiting for me, I didn't feel alone. Not really, because I knew my adventure was only beginning. I took a deep breath, picked up my suitcase, adjusted my backpack, and walked toward the next chapter. Outside the airport, the warm air greeted me as I stepped outside. I stopped for a moment. Not because I was tired, because everything felt different. Different sounds, different smells, different voices. Cars moved past me. People crossed the street. Someone laughed. A bus pulled away. A taxi stopped at the curb. I smiled. I was really here. The first thing I needed was an internet connection. Without it, I couldn't check my map. I couldn't send a message home. I couldn't book a ride. Near the exit, I noticed a small shop. A sign above the door said, "SIM cards." Perfect. I walked inside. A young woman stood behind the counter. She smiled. "Hello?" "Hello. How can I help you?" "I'd like to buy a SIM card, please." "Of course." "How long will you be staying?" "For about 6 months." "In that case, I think this plan will be a good choice." She showed me 2 different options. One had more data. The other was a little cheaper. I listened carefully. Then I made my decision. "I'll take this one." "Great choice." "May I see your passport, please?" "Sure." I handed it to her. She entered a few details into the computer. Then she placed a new SIM card on the counter. "It'll only take a minute." While she worked, I looked around the shop. There were phone chargers, headphones, travel adapters, power banks, and shelves full of snacks and drinks. Airports always seem to have everything. A moment later, She smiled. All done. She placed my phone in my hand. Could you please check if it's working? I looked at the screen. A few seconds passed. Then, the signal appeared. Almost immediately, my phone buzzed. One message. Then another. Then another. I couldn't help smiling. I was connected again. Everything works perfectly. Thank you. You're very welcome. I picked up my phone. The first thing I did was send a message to my family. It wasn't a long message. Just one sentence. I arrived safely. Less than 10 seconds later, my mother replied, I'm so happy. Take care of yourself. We love you. I smiled. Sometimes, a short message means more than a long conversation. I put my phone back into my pocket. Now I needed one more thing. A ride to my hotel? Outside the shop? There were many people waiting for taxis. Some drivers were helping passengers with their luggage. Others were chatting while waiting for the next customer. I walked toward the taxi line. A man wearing a name badge smiled at me. Taxi? Yes, please. Where are you going? The Green Park Hotel. He nodded. No problem. Follow me. He picked up my suitcase before I could. Oh, thank you. My pleasure. We walked together toward a clean white taxi. He opened the trunk, placed my suitcase inside, then opened the back door for me. Here you go. Thank you very much. You're welcome. I sat down. The seat was comfortable. The driver started the engine. Then he looked at me through the mirror. My name is Alex. I'm Sarah. It's nice to meet you. It's nice to meet you too. As the taxi slowly pulled away from the airport, I looked out of the window. The airport became smaller and smaller behind us, and somewhere ahead, a completely new life was waiting for me. The city slowly came to life around us. Tall buildings stood beside small cafes. People were walking to work. Others were sitting outside with a cup of coffee. Everything felt busy, but not rushed. I rested my head against the window. I didn't want to miss a single moment. Alex smiled as he drove. So, is this your first time here? Yes. I've never been here before. Then welcome. I think you're going to like this city. I already do. He laughed. That's a good start. We stopped at a traffic light. A cyclist rode past us. A woman walked her dog across the street. A group of students waited at a bus stop. The light turned green. We continued driving. So, Alex asked, why did you choose this city? I smiled. I came here to study English. Really? Yes. I've been studying for months, but now I want to use English every day. He nodded. That's the best way to learn. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. I know, but I still get nervous. That's normal. When I started learning another language, I made mistakes every single day. Really? Of course. And sometimes, I still do. We both laughed. His answer made me feel better. Maybe I didn't have to speak perfect English. Maybe. I just needed the courage to speak. Can I tell you a little secret? Many English learners think they need perfect grammar before they start speaking, but that's not true. Speaking is how you improve, not the other way around. So, don't wait until you feel ready. Start now, one sentence at a time. The taxi passed a beautiful park. Large trees moved gently in the wind. Children were playing near a small fountain. People were jogging. Others were walking with friends. Alex pointed toward the park. That's one of my favorite places. It looks beautiful. It is. If you have time, you should visit it. I will. Maybe next weekend? I think you'll enjoy it. I hope so. A few minutes later, we drove through a quieter neighborhood. The streets became narrower. Small bakeries stood beside flower shops. The smell of fresh bread drifted through the open window. It smelled wonderful. I realized something. For the first time since the airplane landed, I wasn't nervous anymore. I was simply curious. Curious about the city. Curious about the people. Curious about everything. Sometimes, the hardest part isn't arriving. It's taking the first step. After that, the next step feels much easier. Alex looked at the GPS. We're almost there. I looked out of the window again. A few seconds later, I saw a tall building with a green sign. Green Park Hotel? I smiled. That would be my home. At least for a little while. Alex pulled up in front of the hotel. The taxi came to a smooth stop. I looked out the window. The building was even nicer than it looked in the photos. Large glass doors. Bright flowers near the entrance. A small green sign above the door. Green Park Hotel. We're here, Alex said. I smiled. Thank you. He got out of the taxi before I did. By the time I opened the door, he was already taking my suitcase out of the trunk. Here you go. Thank you so much. My pleasure. I reached for my wallet. How much is the fare? It's $32. I handed him the money. He counted it quickly. Then he smiled. Thank you. Keep the change. Are you sure? Yes. Thank you very much. You're welcome. He closed the trunk. Then he looked at me. I hope you enjoy your stay. Thank you. I think I will. It was nice meeting you. It was nice meeting you too. Have a wonderful day. You too. For the third time that day, I used the same expression. You too? It already felt natural. Alex waved. Then he drove away. I watched the taxi disappear around the corner. For just a moment, everything became quiet. I turned toward the hotel. This was the beginning of another new experience. I picked up my suitcase, walked through the glass doors, and stepped inside. The lobby was warm and peaceful. Soft music played in the background. A few guests were sitting comfortably in the lounge. Someone was reading a newspaper. Another guest was quietly working on a laptop. The air smelled fresh. I walked to the front desk. A receptionist looked up and smiled. "Good afternoon?" "Good afternoon. Welcome to Green Park Hotel." "Thank you. How may I help you today?" "I have a reservation." "Certainly. May I have your name, please?" "My name is Sarah." She typed for a few seconds, then looked up again. "May I see your passport, please?" "Of course." I handed it to her. She checked the information carefully. Everything was correct. She smiled. "Thank you. You'll be staying with us for 6 nights. Breakfast is served from 7 until 10 every morning. Wi-Fi is free throughout the hotel. If you need anything, please let us know. Thank you." "That sounds great." She placed a small key card on the counter. "This is your room key. Your room is on the 5th floor. The elevators are just around the corner." "Perfect. Thank you very much." "You're very welcome." Before I walked away, I had one more question. "Excuse me? Is there a supermarket near the hotel?" "Yes. There's one just 2 blocks away. It stays open until 10 o'clock. "Wonderful. Thank you." "My pleasure." I picked up my suitcase again. Then I looked at the key card in my hand. Room 507. For the first time all day, I felt completely relaxed. The long journey was finally over. Or at least, that's what I thought. I walked toward the elevators. The lobby was quiet. I could hear soft music playing in the background. A couple was checking in. Someone rolled a suitcase across the floor. Then, the elevator doors opened. I stepped inside. There was only one other person, an older gentleman. He smiled politely. "Good afternoon." "Good afternoon. What floor?" "The 5th, please." "So am I." He pressed the button. The doors closed. For a few seconds, neither of us said anything. Sometimes, silence isn't uncomfortable. Sometimes, it's peaceful. The elevator moved slowly. Then the man smiled again. "Business or vacation?" I smiled. "Neither. I'm here to study English." "That's wonderful." Learning a new language opens many doors. I hope so. I'm sure it will. The elevator stopped. Ding! The doors opened. "Have a nice day." "Thank you." "You too." He laughed softly. "I live here." I laughed too. "Oh." "Then have a wonderful day." "Thank you." "You too?" We both smiled. Then we walked in different directions. The hallway was quiet. The carpet made every step almost silent. I looked at the room numbers. There it was. My room. I held the key card against the lock. A small green light appeared. Click. The door unlocked. I slowly pushed it open. The room was bright, simple, clean. A comfortable bed stood beside the window. There was a small desk, a chair, a lamp, a television, a closet, and a little coffee station. It wasn't a large room, but it felt welcoming. I placed my backpack on the chair. Then I rolled my suitcase next to the bed. Finally, I took a long, slow breath. I made it. Those 3 words felt special. Not because I had reached a hotel, because I had reached a dream. I walked to the window. The view overlooked a quiet street. People were walking home. A cyclist passed by. A bus stopped at the corner. Life outside continued as usual. But for me, everything had changed. I opened my suitcase. Carefully. Inside were my clothes, my notebook, a few books, my favorite sweater, and a small photo of my family. I picked up the photo. Everyone was smiling. I smiled too. I already miss you. Then I remembered something my father told me before I left. Don't be afraid of new beginnings. They're usually the start of something wonderful. I placed the photo on the bedside table, right next to the lamp. It made the room feel a little more like home. I sat down at the desk, opened my notebook, and wrote today's date. Under it, I wrote one sentence. Today, I started a new life. I closed the notebook. Then my stomach growled. I laughed. I guess I'm hungry. I looked at the clock. There was still plenty of time. The receptionist had told me about a supermarket nearby. Maybe I could buy something to eat. Maybe I could take my first walk through the neighborhood. I picked up my room key, looked around the room one more time, turned off the lights, and smiled. Tomorrow, I would begin studying English. But tonight, I was simply going to enjoy my first evening in a brand new city. And somehow, I had a feeling. This journey was going to change my life. I left my room. The hallway was as quiet as before. A few moments later, the elevator doors opened. I stepped inside. This time, I was alone. I looked at my reflection in the mirror. This morning, I was on an airplane. Now, I was standing in a hotel, in a city I had dreamed about for months. The elevator reached the lobby. The doors opened. The receptionist smiled as I walked by. Enjoy your evening. Thank you. You too. I smiled. That expression already felt natural. Outside, the air was cooler now. The sun was beginning to set. Golden light covered the buildings. People were finishing work. Restaurants were filling with customers. The city felt calm. I walked slowly. There was no reason to hurry. Just 2 blocks later, I found the supermarket, exactly where the receptionist had said it would be. Automatic doors opened. I picked up a small shopping basket. I didn't need much. A bottle of water, a sandwich, some fruit, and a box of cookies. Nothing special. Just enough for my first evening. At the checkout, the cashier smiled. Hello? Hello? Did you find everything you needed? Yes, thank you. Great. That'll be $12.50. I paid with my card. She handed me the receipt. Have a nice evening? You too. There it was again. You too? Without thinking, without translating, it simply came out naturally. As I walked back to the hotel, I realized something. Today, I had spoken English many times. Not perfect English, just real English. Simple English, useful English, and that was enough. When I returned to my room, I placed the shopping bag on the table, opened the curtains, and looked out the window one last time. The city lights were shining now. Cars moved quietly below. Some people were still walking. Others were laughing outside a cafe. Everything felt alive. I smiled. This morning, I arrived in a new country. I passed through immigration. I collected my suitcase. I bought a SIM card. I met Alex. I checked into my hotel. And now, I was ending my very first day. Not bad for one day. Before I went to sleep, I opened my notebook again. This time, I wrote 5 words. Welcome, passport, wallet, immigration, you too. 5 words, 5 expressions, 5 small steps. Tomorrow, I would learn even more. I closed the notebook, turned off the light, and whispered, Good night. I'll see you tomorrow. In the next episode, we'll leave the hotel together. We'll explore the neighborhood, order breakfast, meet new people, and learn even more everyday English. I can't wait. See you in episode 2.
Hello, my friend. Welcome back to Learn English Daily. I'm Sarah. If this is your first time here, I'm so happy you're joining me. Together, we'll improve our English one conversation at a time. So, are you ready? Let's begin.
I opened my eyes slowly. For a second, I forgot where I was. Then I looked around the room. The white walls, the small desk, the window, the suitcase beside the bed. I smiled. Oh, I'm really here. Today was my first morning in a new country, and it felt exciting. I stretched my arms, walked to the window, and opened the curtains. Bright sunlight filled the room. People were already outside. Some were walking to work. Others were riding bicycles. A woman was walking her dog. A delivery truck stopped across the street. The city was already awake. I checked my phone. I had plenty of time. My English course didn't start until tomorrow. Today, I wanted to explore. But first, I was hungry. I remembered what the receptionist told me yesterday. Breakfast. From 7 until 10? Perfect. I took a quick shower, changed my clothes, brushed my hair, packed my phone, my wallet, my room key, and my notebook. I looked around the room. Do I have everything? Phone, wallet, room key, notebook. Yes, everything was ready. Before leaving, I looked at myself in the mirror. I still felt a little nervous, but not as nervous as yesterday. Little by little, I was becoming more confident. Maybe that's how confidence grows. One small step at a time. I opened the door, locked my room, and walked toward the elevator. The hallway was quiet. Almost everyone was probably having breakfast. Or maybe they were already out exploring the city. The elevator arrived. The doors opened. Inside, there was a young woman. She smiled. Good morning. Good morning. What floor? The lobby, please. Me too. She pressed the button. For a few seconds, we stood quietly. Then she looked at me. Are you here on vacation? I smiled. Not exactly. I'm here to study English. Oh, that's exciting. Where are you from? I'm from Italy. What about you? I'm from Canada. My name is Emma. I'm Sarah. It's nice to meet you. It's nice to meet you too. You speak English very well. Thank you. I'm still learning. She smiled. Everyone is. That made me laugh. I guess you're right. The elevator stopped. The lobby was busy this morning. People were coming and going. Someone was checking out. Another family was checking in. Emma looked toward the restaurant. Are you having breakfast? Yes. I was just going there. Would you like to join me? For a moment, I hesitated. Yesterday, I didn't know anyone. Today, someone was inviting me to breakfast. Sure? I'd love to. Great. We walked together toward the restaurant. The smell of fresh coffee filled the air. I could also smell warm bread. And something sweet. Maybe pancakes? Or muffins. Suddenly, I felt even hungrier. A hostess welcomed us with a smile. Good morning. Good morning. Table for two? Yes, please. This way. We followed her. She showed us a table near the window. The morning sunlight made the whole room feel warm and comfortable. As we sat down, I looked around. Some people were reading newspapers. Others were talking quietly. A little boy was trying to pour orange juice by himself. His father smiled and helped him. It reminded me of breakfasts with my family back home. For just a second, I missed them. Emma noticed. Everything okay? Yes. I was just thinking about my family. I understand. I miss mine too. When did you arrive? Yesterday. You? 2 days ago. So you're already an expert. She laughed. Not even close. I'm still getting lost. That made both of us laugh. Sometimes, meeting the right person at the right moment can make a new city feel much smaller. A waiter walked over with a friendly smile. Good morning. My name is David. I'll be taking care of you today. What would you like to drink? Emma looked at me. You go first? I smiled. I'd like a cup of coffee, please. And a glass of orange juice. Certainly. And for you? I'll have tea. And orange juice, too. Excellent. I'll be right back. As he walked away, Emma smiled. So, what made you choose this city? I looked out the window for a moment. Then I smiled. I've dreamed about coming here for a long time. And now, I'm finally here. I still couldn't believe it. Yesterday, everything was new. Today, it already felt a little more familiar. And somehow, I had a feeling this was going to be a very good day. The waiter returned a few minutes later. He placed our drinks on the table. 1 coffee, 1 tea, 2 orange juices. Thank you. You're welcome. He handed each of us a menu. Take your time. I'll be back in a few minutes. I opened the menu. There were so many choices. Eggs, toast, pancakes, waffles, fruit, yogurt, cereal, oatmeal, bagels, breakfast sandwiches. I looked at Emma. What do you usually eat for breakfast? She smiled. It depends. Sometimes I eat something healthy. And sometimes I choose pancakes. I laughed. So, what are you choosing today? She looked at the menu for another second. Pancakes? Definitely pancakes. I had a feeling. She laughed. What about you? I wasn't sure. Everything looked delicious. I think I'll have scrambled eggs with toast and maybe some fruit. That sounds good. The waiter came back. Are you ready to order? Yes. Emma looked at him first. I'd like the pancakes, please. With maple syrup and fresh strawberries. Of course. He wrote it down. Then he looked at me. And for you? I'd like the scrambled eggs. With toast. And a fruit bowl, please. Excellent choice. Would you like butter or jam with your toast? I paused for a second. I knew the word butter, but I wasn't sure about jam. Emma noticed my expression. She smiled. Jam is made from fruit? Oh, like strawberry jam? Exactly. I looked back at the waiter. Then, both, please. He smiled. Great choice. I'll bring your breakfast soon. As he walked away, I looked at Emma. Thanks. For what? For helping me? It happens to everyone. There are still words I don't know. Really? Of course. English has thousands of words. No one knows them all. That made me feel better. A few moments later, I took out my notebook. Emma looked curious. You carry that everywhere? I do. I like writing down new words. What did you learn yesterday? I opened the notebook. The first page was already full. Passport, immigration, reservation, room key, lobby, you two. Emma smiled. That's a great list. I like learning expressions. They're easier to remember. What about you? She thought for a moment. When I travel, I always learn 3 words first. Which ones? Hello? Thank you. And, excuse me? Why those? Because kindness opens more doors than perfect grammar. I smiled. I like that. I think you're right. Just then, we heard a small crash. Clink. Everyone looked toward the other side of the restaurant. A young man stood beside his table. He looked embarrassed. Oh no! His glass of orange juice had tipped over. Juice covered the table. It was dripping onto the floor. For 1 second, the whole restaurant became quiet. Then the waiter hurried over. No worries. It happens. I'll take care of it. Another employee brought a towel. Within a minute, everything was clean again. The young man smiled with relief. I'm so sorry. It's completely fine. The waiter smiled. Accidents happen. When they walked away, Emma looked at me. That's one expression you'll hear a lot. Accidents happen. It means, don't worry. Sometimes mistakes are part of life. I nodded. I like that expression. So do I. A few minutes later, our breakfast arrived. The waiter carefully placed the plates on the table. The pancakes looked amazing. They were tall, golden brown, covered with fresh strawberries. The maple syrup sparkled in the morning light. My breakfast looked just as delicious. Soft scrambled eggs, warm toast, a colorful bowl of fresh fruit. Everything smelled wonderful. Emma picked up her fork. Ready? I smiled. More than ready. We both laughed. I took my first bite. This is really good. Emma nodded. I told you. The breakfasts here are fantastic. For a few minutes, we simply enjoyed our food. Sometimes, you don't need to talk all the time. Comfortable silence can also be part of a good conversation. For a little while, we simply enjoyed our breakfast. The restaurant was filled with quiet conversations. The sound of coffee cups, the smell of fresh bread, soft music in the background. It felt peaceful. Emma took another bite of her pancakes. Then she looked at me. So, what do you do in Italy? I used to work in a small design studio. I loved my job, but I always wanted to improve my English. So, here I am. She smiled. That took courage. Maybe. But it also took a lot of planning. I saved money for almost 2 years. Wow, that's impressive. What about you? I'm a photographer. I travel a lot for work. So I wanted to become more confident speaking English. It makes traveling much easier. I can imagine. She nodded. English isn't perfect everywhere, but it's amazing how many people can communicate with it. I thought about that. Back home, I was always afraid of making mistakes. Here, everyone seemed more relaxed. People spoke slowly. They smiled. They listened. Maybe I didn't need perfect English. Maybe I just needed the courage to speak. The waiter walked by. Is everything okay? Everything is wonderful. The food is delicious. I'm glad to hear that. He smiled. If you need anything, just let me know. Thank you. A few minutes later, I finished my breakfast. Emma was almost done too. She looked out the window. What are your plans today? I don't really have any. I just want to explore. I'd like to walk around. Maybe visit a cafe? Maybe find a bookstore. Her eyes lit up. A bookstore? You like reading? I do. I especially like books for language learners. She laughed. I know the perfect place. Really? It's only about 10 minutes from here. They have books, travel guides, maps, and even English books for beginners. That sounds perfect. You should come with me. For a moment, I wasn't sure. I had planned to explore by myself, but meeting new people was one of the reasons I came here. I'd love to. Great. We can leave after breakfast. Just then, I remembered something. Oh, I almost forgot. What is it? I need to buy a notebook. Emma laughed. I think you already have one. I smiled. I know, but it's almost full. She looked surprised. Already? I like writing. I write every new word, every useful expression. And sometimes I write about my day. I think that's a great habit. It helps me remember. I should start doing that too. I smiled. Maybe we both will. The waiter returned with the bill. Whenever you're ready, Emma reached for it. I'll get this. I quickly shook my head. No. We can split it. Are you sure? Of course. It's only fair. He nodded. No problem. I'll split the bill. A few moments later, we each paid for our breakfast. As we stood up, I looked around the restaurant one last time. When I came downstairs this morning, I didn't know anyone. Now, I was leaving with a new friend. Life can change faster than we expect. We walked toward the hotel lobby together. The receptionist smiled. Good morning. Heading out? Yes. We're going to explore the city. Have fun. Thank you. Outside, the morning air felt fresh. The streets were busier than before. People were carrying coffee. Cyclists rode past us. A bus stopped nearby. Someone was playing music on a guitar. The city felt alive. Emma unfolded a small paper map. I know. Most people use their phones, but I still like paper maps. I laughed. My father is exactly the same. He says, a map never runs out of battery. Emma laughed. I like your father already. We started walking. Neither of us knew it yet. But before this morning was over, something unexpected was about to happen. We walked side by side. The sidewalks were wide. Trees lined the street. The morning sun felt warm, but not too hot. People smiled as they passed us. Some were walking to work. Others were enjoying their morning coffee outside small cafes. The city felt friendly. As we reached the next corner, the traffic light turned red. We stopped and waited. A man stood beside us with a little girl. She was holding a bright red balloon. She looked up at her father. Daddy, can we get ice cream later? He smiled. If you're good today, yes. She grinned from ear to ear. Emma smiled. She reminds me of my little niece. Do you have brothers or sisters? I have one older brother. And you? I have a younger sister. She still thinks I'm her second mother. We both laughed. The light turned green. We crossed the street. After a few more minutes, we reached a small city square. There were flowers everywhere. A fountain stood in the middle. Water sparkled under the sunlight. People sat on benches. Some were reading. Some were talking. Others were simply enjoying the beautiful morning. It's lovely here. It really is. Emma pointed across the square. There's the bookstore. I looked where she was pointing. It wasn't a huge store, but it looked cozy. Large windows, wooden shelves, colorful books displayed in the front window. A small sign hung above the entrance. I smiled. I already love this place. Just before we reached the door, we heard a voice behind us. Excuse me. We both turned around. An elderly woman stood there. She looked a little worried. Could you help me, please? Of course. She unfolded a small piece of paper. I'm looking for this museum, but I think I'm lost. Emma looked at the address. Then she looked at me. I think it's about 5 minutes from here. I remembered seeing the museum on the map in the hotel lobby. I smiled at the woman. I think we can help. She looked relieved. Oh, thank you. Emma pointed down the street. You'll walk straight. Then turn left at the second traffic light. The museum will be on your right. The woman listened carefully. Then she looked uncertain. I'm afraid I'll forget. I smiled. We're actually walking that way. We can take you there. Really? That would be wonderful. So, instead of going straight to the bookstore, we walked with her. She introduced herself. My name is Margaret. I'm visiting from Australia. I'm Sarah. And this is Emma. It's so nice to meet you both. As we walked, Margaret looked around with a smile. I've wanted to visit this city for years. It's beautiful. It really is. A few minutes later, we reached the museum. Margaret stopped walking. Her face lit up. There it is. I can't believe I almost walked the other way. She turned to us. Thank you. You've been so kind. It was our pleasure. She smiled warmly. People always remember kindness, even small acts. Then she reached into her bag. I bought these cookies this morning. Please, take one. Emma smiled politely. That's very kind. But you don't have to. I insist. Margaret laughed. I can't eat the whole box by myself. We each took one cookie. Thank you. You're very welcome. She waved goodbye. Enjoy your day. You too. We watched her walk toward the museum entrance. Then Emma looked at me. You know, we never planned to come here. No. But I'm glad we did. So am I. As we turned back toward the bookstore, I realized something. Learning English was helping me do much more than speak. It was helping me connect with people. And somehow, that felt even more important. We walked back toward the bookstore. This time, nothing distracted us. The little shop looked even more inviting. Emma opened the door. A small bell rang. The smell of new books filled the air. I smiled without even thinking. I love that smell. Emma laughed. I was about to say the same thing. The bookstore wasn't very big, but it was full of character. Wooden shelves reached almost to the ceiling. There were comfortable chairs in one corner. A young woman was quietly reading by the window. Soft piano music played in the background. No one was in a hurry. A man behind the counter looked up and smiled. Good morning. Welcome. Good morning. Emma smiled. We're looking for English books, especially for beginners. You're in the right place. He stepped out from behind the counter. My name is Daniel. I'm Sarah. And this is Emma. It's nice to meet you both. Likewise. Daniel led us to a section near the back of the store. A small sign read, English Language Learning. There were dozens of books. Some were for grammar. Some focused on vocabulary. Others were storybooks. One shelf immediately caught my attention. Learn English through stories. I smiled. These look interesting. Daniel nodded. They're very popular. Stories help people remember words. I think so too. When I read a story, I remember the conversation, not just the vocabulary. Exactly. Emma picked up a book. This one looks good. It has short chapters and everyday conversations. I looked through a few pages. The English felt natural, easy to understand. Just challenging enough? I'll take this one. Daniel smiled. Good choice. Then I noticed something beside the books. A small basket. Inside, there were colorful notebooks. Simple, beautiful. Exactly what I needed. I almost forgot. I came here for a notebook. Emma laughed. I remembered. I picked up a dark blue notebook. The cover simply said, New Ideas. I like this one. It suits you. Why? You write about everything. New ideas need a new notebook. I smiled. You're probably right. While I was looking around, Emma walked toward another shelf. A minute later, she came back holding something. This made me think of you. She handed me a small bookmark. It was white, with tiny blue flowers. Across the middle, it said, "Every expert was once a beginner." I read it twice. Then I smiled. I love it. It reminds me why I'm here. Emma nodded. Exactly. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to keep going. For a second, I became very quiet. Yesterday, I was afraid to speak. Today, I had breakfast with someone new, helped a stranger, bought my first English storybook, and now I was holding a bookmark. That felt like it had been written just for me. Daniel walked back toward us. Did you find everything? Yes. I'll take the storybook, the notebook, and I looked at Emma. The bookmark, too. Daniel smiled. Excellent choices. As he scanned the items, he asked, "So, where are you from?" "I'm from Italy." "And what brings you here?" "I'm studying English." "That's wonderful. I meet people from all over the world. But they all have one thing in common." "Oh?" "They're brave enough to start." Those words stayed with me. Sometimes, the simplest sentences are the ones we remember the longest. Daniel placed everything into a paper bag. "Here you are." "Thank you. Enjoy your new book." "I will." As we walked toward the door, I looked at the bag in my hand. It wasn't heavy, but somehow it felt like I was carrying much more than books. I was carrying new words, new memories, and a little more confidence than I had yesterday. Outside, the city was brighter than ever. Emma looked at the time. "It's almost noon. Are you getting hungry again?" I laughed. "We just had breakfast." "I know. But walking always makes me hungry. I know a small cafe nearby. They make amazing sandwiches." I smiled. "I think that sounds like a perfect idea." We started walking again. Neither of us knew that lunch would introduce us to someone who would become an important part of this story. We continued walking. The bookstore was behind us now. The paper bag swung gently in my hand. Inside, my new storybook, my notebook, and my new bookmark. I smiled. It felt like a good morning already. Emma walked beside me. "So, how are you feeling?" I thought about the question. Yesterday, I would have answered, nervous. Today, my answer was different. I feel more comfortable? She smiled. I can tell. Really? Yes. Yesterday, you probably spent a lot of time thinking before speaking. And today, you're just speaking. I laughed. I didn't even notice. That's a good sign. We turned onto a quieter street. Small cafes lined both sides. People sat outside. Some were reading. Others were talking with friends. Someone was working on a laptop. The smell of fresh coffee filled the air. Emma pointed across the street. There. That's my favorite cafe. The sign above the door read, Sunny Corner Caf. It looks nice. It is. They make the best sandwiches. And the owner is very friendly. We walked inside. A small bell rang above the door. Welcome. A cheerful voice greeted us. Behind the counter stood a woman in her 40s. She smiled warmly. Good afternoon. Hi, Maria. Emma waved. Hello, Emma. It's nice to see you again. Maria looked at me. And who's your friend? This is Sarah. She's from Italy. She's here to study English. Maria's face lit up. Oh, welcome. It's lovely to meet you. It's lovely to meet you too. I hope you're enjoying our city. I really am. I'm happy to hear that. She handed us 2 menus. Sit wherever you like. I'll be with you in a minute. We chose a small table near the window. The cafe felt cozy. Fresh flowers stood on every table. Soft jazz music played quietly. People smiled as they talked. No one seemed to be in a hurry. I looked around. This place feels peaceful. Emma nodded. That's why I like coming here. You can relax. You can read. Or simply watch people. A young man sat alone near the window. He was reading a travel magazine. An elderly couple shared a slice of cake. 2 university students were laughing over something on a phone. Every table seemed to have its own little story. Maria came over with a notepad. Have you decided? Emma smiled. I'll have the chicken sandwich. And an iced coffee. Maria looked at me. And you? I glanced at the menu. Everything sounded delicious. I think I'll have the grilled cheese sandwich. And she smiled patiently. Take your time. I laughed. I can't decide. Tea or lemonade? Maria smiled. Why not try our homemade lemonade? It's very popular. Emma nodded. You should. It's really good. Then, I'll have the lemonade. Excellent choice. I'll be right back. As Maria walked away, I looked at Emma. I like her. So do I. She's one of the friendliest people I've ever met. Just then, the young man at the next table stood up. As he reached for his backpack, a book slipped onto the floor. Without thinking, I picked it up. Here you go. Oh, thank you so much. You're welcome. He smiled. I appreciate it. He looked at the paper bag beside my chair. You've been to the bookstore? Yes. I just came from there. So did I. He held up the book he was carrying. I couldn't leave without buying one. We both laughed. It happens. He smiled. My name is Lucas. I'm Sarah. And this is Emma. It's nice to meet you both. You too. Lucas pointed to the empty chair at our table. Would you mind if I joined you for a few minutes? Emma looked at me. I smiled. Not at all. Please. He pulled out the chair, sat down, and with one simple question, our afternoon was about to become much more interesting. So, what brings both of you here? Lucas smiled as he waited for an answer. Emma looked at me. I think you should tell him. I laughed. Why me? Because it's your story. I nodded. Fair enough? I looked at Lucas. I arrived yesterday. I'm from Italy. I'm here to study English. He smiled. That's exciting. What made you decide to do that? I thought for a moment. Then I answered honestly. For a long time, I was afraid to speak English. I understood a lot. But every time I wanted to speak, I worried about making mistakes. So I decided the only way to improve was to use English every day. Lucas nodded slowly. I know exactly what you mean. You do? Yes. I'm from Brazil. When I first arrived here, I felt exactly the same. You did? Absolutely. I knew the words. But speaking, that was the difficult part. Emma smiled. I think we've all been there. Lucas laughed. My first week was unforgettable. Oh, what happened? I went into a bakery. I wanted to buy bread. Simple, right? I smiled. Sounds easy? I wanted to say, I'd like a loaf of bread, please. But I was so nervous. I forgot the word. Bread? Emma laughed. So what did you say? Lucas covered his face with one hand and laughed. I said, I'd like one. Cooked sandwich. Without the sandwich? Emma burst into laughter. I couldn't stop laughing either. What did the baker do? He looked confused. Then he smiled. And he asked, Do you mean bread? Yes. That's exactly what I meant. Lucas laughed again. I was so embarrassed. But the baker didn't laugh at me. He helped me. And that's when I realized something. What? Most people want to help? They're not waiting for you to make a mistake. They're waiting to understand you. For a moment, none of us spoke. I thought about yesterday, at immigration, at the hotel, at breakfast, at the bookstore. Everyone had been patient. Everyone had been kind. Maybe I had been worrying too much. Maria returned with our drinks. One iced coffee, one homemade lemonade, and she smiled at Lucas. The usual, you know me too well. She laughed. I'll bring it in just a minute. Lucas smiled. She remembers everyone's favorite order. Really? Emma nodded. That's one reason people love this cafe. Maria came back with the sandwiches. Everything looked fresh. The bread was warm. The vegetables were colorful. The lemonade looked cold and refreshing. It smells amazing. Lucas picked up his sandwich. So, when do your English classes start? Tomorrow morning? Are you excited? I am. But a little nervous too. He smiled. That's normal. My advice? I looked at him. Speak, even when you're unsure. Even when you make mistakes. The more you speak, the easier it becomes. Emma pointed at my paper bag. She's already off to a good start. Lucas looked curious. She bought an English storybook. She carries a notebook. And she writes new words every day. Lucas smiled. I like that. Can I give you one more idea? Of course. At the end of every day, write 3 sentences. Only 3. They don't have to be perfect. They just have to be true. I repeated the idea quietly. 3 sentences. Exactly. Today, I met a new friend. I tried something new. I learned a new word. Simple, but powerful. I smiled. I think I'll start tonight.
Are you ready? Let's
Lucas
begin.
raised his glass. 2 new beginnings. Emma lifted her iced coffee. 2 new friendships. I lifted my lemonade. And 2, speaking English. 1 conversation at a time. Our glasses touched gently. For such a small moment, it felt surprisingly meaningful. Outside the cafe window, the city continued moving. People hurried by. Buses came and went. The afternoon sun shone brightly. Inside, 3 people from 3 different countries were sharing lunch, using one language to understand each other. And somehow, that felt like the beginning of something much bigger than any of us expected. For the next few minutes, we enjoyed our lunch. The conversation flowed naturally. No one was trying to impress anyone. We were simply talking, sharing stories, and enjoying the afternoon. Lucas looked at me. So, have you explored much of the city yet? Not really. I've only seen the airport. My hotel? The bookstore. And now this cafe. He smiled. Then you've only seen a tiny part of it. There's so much more. Emma nodded. He's right. There are beautiful parks, interesting museums, a river walk, and a weekend market. A weekend market? I asked. Yes, it's one of my favorite places. Lucas smiled. You can hear different languages everywhere. You'll meet artists, musicians, street performers, and people from all over the world. It sounds amazing. It is. You should come with us this Saturday. I looked surprised. Really? Of course. The more the merrier. I smiled. I'd love that. Just then, Maria walked over. How is everything? The sandwiches are delicious. I'm glad to hear that. She looked at Lucas. I almost forgot. A package arrived for you this morning. Lucas looked surprised. For me? Yes. I put it behind the counter. I'll bring it. A minute later, she returned with a small brown package. Lucas looked at the label. I know what this is. He carefully opened it. Inside, there was a brand new camera lens. His eyes became wide. It finally arrived. Emma smiled. You've been waiting for that for weeks. I have. I ordered it almost a month ago. He held it carefully. It was worth the wait. I looked at the lens. It looks expensive. Lucas laughed. It is. So I need to be extra careful. He placed it back in the box. Then he looked at us. Would you like to see something? Sure. He reached into his backpack. This time, he took out his camera. It looked professional. He attached the new lens. Then he stood up. Stay exactly where you are. Emma laughed. Why? I want to take your picture. Oh no. I laughed. I just started eating again. Perfect. Natural photos are always the best. He stepped back. Smile. Click. He looked at the screen. Beautiful. Emma stood up. My turn. She walked over to the window. The sunlight fell gently across the table. Lucas took another picture. Click. Then he looked at me. Come here. I stood beside Emma. Ready? I think so. Click. 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 He lowered the camera. These are great. I walked over to look. The photos didn't look posed. They looked real. Two new friends? Sharing lunch? Laughing. Enjoying the moment. I smiled. I've never liked photos of myself. Lucas looked at me. Most people don't. They're too busy looking for flaws. But photographs aren't about perfection. They're about memories. I looked at the picture again. He was right. When I looked at it, I didn't notice my hair or my clothes. I remembered how happy I felt. Maybe that's what a good photograph does. It captures a feeling, not just a face. Lucas carefully packed away his camera. I have an idea. Emma smiled. That's usually dangerous. He laughed. No. I think you'll like this one. Tomorrow evening, there's a free photography exhibition. It's only a few blocks from your hotel. There will also be people from the local language school. I looked interested. My language school? I think so. They often organize small social events. Emma smiled. That's perfect. You'll meet other students before classes even begin. I felt a little nervous again. Meeting one new person was easy. Meeting 20? That sounded different. Lucas noticed. Nervous? A little? He smiled kindly. Good. I looked confused. Good? If something makes you a little nervous, It usually means you're growing. Those words stayed with me. Growing. Sometimes it begins with a single conversation. Sometimes it begins with saying, "Good morning," or "My name is Sarah," or even, "I'd like a cup of coffee, please." Small sentences, small moments, but together, they slowly build a new life. And without realizing it, I was already building mine. We stayed at the cafe a little longer. No one seemed to be in a hurry. Outside, the afternoon passed quietly. Inside, our conversation continued. Lucas took a sip of his coffee. Then he smiled. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." "When you decided to come here, what was the hardest part?" I didn't answer right away. There were so many possible answers. Leaving my family, saving money, packing my suitcase, traveling alone. But none of those felt like the real answer. I looked out the window for a moment. Then I said, the hardest part was buying the plane ticket. Emma looked surprised. "Really?" I nodded. Before I bought it, it was only a dream. But after I clicked, "Book now," everything became real. There was no turning back. Lucas smiled. "I understand. Sometimes the smallest click changes your whole life." We sat quietly for a moment. Not because the conversation had ended, because we were all thinking. A few seconds later, Emma broke the silence. "I almost didn't come here either." "You didn't?" She shook her head. "The night before my flight, I almost canceled everything." "Why?" "I was scared. What if my English wasn't good enough? What if I couldn't make friends? What if I felt lonely?" I looked at her. Those were exactly my thoughts. She smiled. "I think every language learner has them." Lucas nodded. "And then you arrive. You meet people. You realize you're not the only one." That sentence made me smile. No, I wasn't the only one. Maria walked past our table, carrying a tray. She noticed our empty glasses. "Would anyone like a refill?" Emma looked at me. "What do you think?" I smiled. "I'd love another lemonade." "Me too," Emma said. Lucas raised his empty coffee cup. "And another coffee for me, please." "You got it?" A few minutes later, Maria returned. She placed the drinks on the table. Then she surprised us. "There you go." And she placed a small plate in the middle. 3 warm chocolate cookies. "These are on the house." Emma smiled. "Really?" Maria nodded. "You've been filling my cafe with laughter. I think that deserves cookies." We all laughed. "Thank you." "You're very welcome." As soon as Maria walked away, Lucas picked up one cookie. "I have a rule," Emma asked. "Never say no to free cookies." We laughed again. "I like that rule." "So do I." The cookies were still warm. The chocolate melted with every bite. They're delicious. I told you, Emma said. Everything here is good. As we talked, I noticed something. I wasn't translating every sentence anymore. Yesterday, I listened carefully to every single word. Today, I was listening to ideas, not just vocabulary. It happened so naturally. I almost didn't notice. Lucas looked at me. You're smiling. I am? Yes. What are you thinking about? I smiled even more. I just realized something. What? I'm starting to understand English. Without translating every sentence. Emma's eyes lit up. That's a huge step. It really is. Lucas nodded. One day, you'll suddenly realize you're thinking in English too. I laughed. That sounds impossible. He smiled. So did this? He pointed around the table. Yesterday, we didn't know each other. Today, we've been talking for hours. Life changes quickly. I looked around the cafe. Maria was helping another customer. The elderly couple were still sharing dessert. The students were packing their bags. The young man by the window had finished his book. Everything looked ordinary. But for me, this wasn't an ordinary afternoon. It was the first time. I truly believed I could do this. I could learn English. Not because I was studying harder, but because I was living it. Just then, my phone vibrated. I picked it up. A new email had arrived. The subject line read, "Welcome to Riverside Language Center." My heart skipped a beat. Emma smiled. Is that? I nodded. My school. Lucas leaned forward. Open it. I took a deep breath, smiled, and tapped the screen. My hands felt a little shaky. I wasn't sure why. It was only an email, but somehow it felt important. I looked at Emma, then at Lucas. Go ahead, Lucas said. I smiled. Okay. I opened the email. At the very top, I read the first line aloud. Dear Sarah, welcome to Riverside Language Center. I couldn't help smiling. I already like them. Emma laughed. Keep reading. I scrolled down. Your classes begin tomorrow at 9 a.m. Please arrive at least 30 minutes early. So, I need to be there by 8:30. Lucas nodded. That's a good idea. I kept reading. On your first day, you'll meet your teacher. You'll receive your class schedule. And you'll take a short placement activity. I looked up. A placement activity? Emma smiled. Don't worry. It's just to find the right class. It isn't a test you can fail. Exactly, Lucas added. They just want to know your level. I felt relieved. I continued reading. Please bring a notebook. I laughed. Well, I've got that. Emma smiled. What else? A pen. I have one. Your passport or another photo ID. I have my passport. And a positive attitude. Lucas laughed. I like that. So do I. I read the last line. We look forward to meeting you. See you tomorrow. I locked my phone. For a few seconds, none of us spoke. Then Emma smiled. So, tomorrow is the big day. It is. How do you feel? I thought carefully. Yesterday, I would have said, scared. Today, my answer was different. I'm excited. And yes, I'm still a little nervous. But now, it's the good kind of nervous. Lucas smiled. That's exactly how it should feel. He leaned back in his chair. Can I give you one last piece of advice? Please? When you walk into your classroom tomorrow, don't try to be perfect. Try to be curious. I looked at him. What do you mean? Ask questions. Smile. Talk to people. If you make a mistake, keep talking. Don't stop. Emma nodded. I agree. The students who improve the fastest aren't always the smartest. They're usually the ones who aren't afraid to speak. I quietly repeated the sentence. Don't be afraid to speak. Those words sounded familiar. Yesterday, Alex had told me the same thing. Now, Emma and Lucas were saying it too. Maybe there was a reason. Maybe that really was the secret. Maria came over one last time. I hope you enjoyed everything. We did. It was wonderful. I'm happy to hear that. She smiled at me. I have a feeling we'll be seeing you again. I think so too. We thanked her, picked up our bags, and walked toward the door. Before we stepped outside, Maria called after us. Sarah? I turned around. Yes. She smiled warmly. Good luck tomorrow. You'll do great. For a second, I couldn't find the right words. Then I simply smiled. Thank you. That means a lot. Outside, the afternoon sun was beginning to soften. The air felt cooler now. People continued walking along the sidewalks. The city no longer felt unfamiliar. Yesterday, every street was new. Today, some places already felt familiar. The hotel, the bookstore, Sunny Corner Cafe. 3 places, 3 memories. 3 people who had already made this city feel a little more like home. Emma looked at her watch. I should head back. I have a video call with my family. Lucas nodded. And I have photos to edit. He smiled at me. But tomorrow evening, the photography exhibition. I'll be there. Emma looked at me. And I'll meet you after your first day of class. Deal? I smiled. Deal. We stood there for a moment. 3 people, 3 different countries, 3 different stories. But somehow, our paths had crossed. Lucas held out his hand. It was great meeting you, Sarah. I shook his hand. It was great meeting you too. Emma gave me a quick hug. You're going to do amazing tomorrow. Thanks. I hope so. You will? A few moments later, they walked in different directions. I watched them disappear into the crowd. Then I started walking back toward my hotel. Alone. But somehow, I didn't feel alone anymore. I had a notebook full of new words. A storybook waiting to be opened. A class waiting for me tomorrow. And, for the first time since leaving Italy, I felt like I belonged here. As I reached the hotel, I looked up at the building and smiled. Tomorrow! A new chapter would begin. Not just in my English journey, but in my life. And I couldn't wait to see what was waiting for me on the other side of that classroom door. End of episode 2. Next time, Sarah walks into her English school for the very first time. She meets her teacher, her classmates, and discovers that everyone has a different story. But the same goal, to speak English with confidence. See you in episode 3.
Hello, my friend. Welcome back to Learn English Daily. I'm Sarah. Thank you for joining me again. Today is a very important day. It's my first day at English school.
To be honest, I didn't sleep very well. I kept thinking about today. What will my teacher be like? Will I make new friends? Will I understand everyone? I asked myself those questions again and again. But then my alarm rang. It was 7 o'clock. I opened my eyes. For a second, I forgot where I was. Then I looked out the window. The city was already awake. Cars were moving. People were walking. Someone was jogging in the park across the street. I smiled. Today's the day. I got out of bed. The room felt brighter than yesterday. Maybe. I felt different. I walked to the window. The sky was clear. It looked like it was going to be a beautiful morning. Good, I whispered. I'll take that as a good sign. I got dressed slowly. I wanted to make a good first impression. Not too formal. Not too casual. Just comfortable. I chose a light blue shirt, dark jeans, and my favorite white sneakers. Then I looked in the mirror. I smiled. Then I laughed. You look nervous. I said to myself, maybe talking to yourself isn't so strange. Sometimes it helps. I picked up my backpack. Before leaving, I checked everything one more time. Passport, wallet, phone, notebook, pen, water bottle? Perfect. I closed my backpack. Then I stopped. Something felt different. Yesterday, I packed because I had to. Today, I packed because I was ready. That made me smile. I left my room. The hallway was quiet. As I waited for the elevator, the doors opened. A man walked out. He looked about 60 years old. He smiled kindly. Good morning. Good morning. Big plans today? I nodded. It's my first day at English school. His face lit up. Really? Congratulations. Thank you. I hope everything goes well. I'm sure it will. He pointed toward my notebook. Keep writing. You'll be surprised how much you improve. I will. The elevator arrived. Before the doors closed, he waved. Have a wonderful first day. You too. The elevator started moving. Down, down, down. I quietly repeated his words. Have a wonderful first day. I liked that sentence. Maybe I'd use it someday. The hotel lobby was much busier than yesterday. People were checking out. Others were checking in. A family was looking at a city map. Two business travelers were drinking coffee. Near the entrance, I noticed Emma. She was waving at me. Sarah? I smiled. Good morning. Good morning. You look ready? I hope I am. She laughed. You'll do great. I brought you something. For me? She handed me a small paper bag. Open it. Inside, there was a banana, a small bottle of water, and a chocolate bar. I looked at her. You packed me a snack? She nodded. Trust me. On your first day, you never know when you'll get hungry. I laughed. This is so thoughtful. My mother always does this for me. So, today, I'm borrowing her idea. I smiled. Please thank your mother for me. Emma laughed. I will. Just then, my stomach made a quiet sound. Emma raised an eyebrow. I guess your stomach agrees? We both laughed. I skipped breakfast. I was too excited. She pointed across the street. There's a small bakery. We still have time. You should eat something. I looked at my watch. It was 7:45. I need to be there by 8:30. We have plenty of time. Come on. We crossed the street together. The smell reached us before we opened the door. Fresh bread, warm butter, coffee, and something sweet. The bakery was small, but it felt warm. A young woman behind the counter smiled. Good morning. What can I get for you? Emma looked at me. You order? I took a small breath. This was my chance. I smiled. Good morning. I'd like a cheese croissant. And a small cappuccino, please? Great choice. Anything else? I looked at Emma. She nodded. No, thank you. The woman smiled. That'll be $7. I paid. She handed me the receipt. Your order will be ready in just a minute. I stepped away from the counter. Emma smiled proudly. See? You didn't need my help? I smiled back. No, I didn't. And somehow, that small conversation felt like my first success of the day. Emma and I found a small table by the window. The bakery was cozy. Soft music was playing. People came in, ordered breakfast, and hurried to work. A few minutes later, the young woman returned. Cheese croissant, small cappuccino, and one blueberry muffin. Emma smiled. Thank you. Everything smelled wonderful. I picked up my cappuccino. It was warm. I took a small sip. That's really good. Emma laughed. I knew you'd like it. I looked around the bakery. A little boy was trying to carry a tray. It looked a bit too heavy. His father smiled. I can help. The boy shook his head. I can do it. Slowly, very slowly. He carried the tray to their table. When he finally arrived, he smiled proudly. His father clapped softly. Great job. Watching them made me smile. Emma noticed. What are you thinking about? I was just thinking. We all like doing things by ourselves. She nodded. Even if they're difficult. Exactly. Maybe learning English was the same. People could help me. But one day, I wanted to do it by myself. I finished my croissant. It was light, warm, and delicious. Emma looked at her watch. We should leave soon. I nodded. I'm ready. As we stood up, the woman behind the counter smiled again. Good luck today. Thank you. I hope your first day goes well. It means a lot. Outside, the morning air felt fresh. The streets were getting busier. People were riding bicycles. Buses stopped every few minutes. Students walked together. Some were laughing. Some were looking at their phones. Everyone seemed to have somewhere to go. Emma pointed down the street. The school is about a 10-minute walk. We started walking. The sidewalks were lined with trees. Some leaves moved gently in the wind. It was peaceful. So, Emma said, do you know anyone at the school? I smiled. Not yet. Then today. That will change. I hoped she was right. After a few minutes, Emma pointed ahead. There it is. I looked up. Across the street, I saw a modern building. Large glass windows, a bright blue sign, and many students walking through the entrance. Some carried backpacks. Others held notebooks and coffee cups. Some looked confident. Others looked nervous. Just like me. My heart started beating faster. This is it. Emma smiled. Ready? I took a deep breath. I think so. We crossed the street together. As we reached the entrance, I heard different languages all around me. Spanish, Japanese, French, Arabic, Korean, and English. Lots of English. For a second, I felt overwhelmed. There were so many people. Then I remembered something Lucas had said. Don't try to be perfect. Be curious. I smiled to myself. Yes, I could do that. Inside, the lobby was bright and welcoming. There were comfortable chairs, colorful posters. A world map covered one wall. Students stood in small groups. Some were introducing themselves. Others were laughing together. Near the reception desk, a sign read, "Welcome new students." I smiled. That sign felt like it was written just for me. A friendly woman at the reception looked up. "Good morning. Welcome. Are you a new student?" "Yes. My name is Sarah." She smiled warmly. "It's lovely to meet you, Sarah. I'm Olivia. I'll help you get started." Those words immediately made me feel calmer. Olivia handed me a folder. Inside, you'll find your student card, a campus map, your class schedule, and some information about today's activities. "Thank you." She pointed toward another table. "Before class, please write your name on a name tag." Of course. I walked over, picked up a marker, and wrote carefully, "Sarah." Under my name, I wrote, "Italy." I looked at the badge for a moment. It suddenly felt real. I wasn't just visiting anymore. I was a student. Emma smiled. "It looks good." I clipped the badge onto my shirt. Just then, someone standing nearby looked at it. His eyes lit up. "Italy!" He smiled. "I've always wanted to visit Italy." I turned toward him. He looked about my age. He carried a notebook under one arm, and he had a friendly smile. I smiled back. "Really?" "Yes." "My name is Daniel." He held out his hand. "I'm from Brazil." I shook his hand. "I'm Sarah. It's nice to meet you." "Nice to meet you too." For the first time that morning, I wasn't thinking about being nervous anymore. I was simply meeting someone new. Daniel smiled. "So, is this your first English class too?" "Yes." "What about you?" He nodded. "My first day. I arrived 2 days ago." "How are you feeling?" He laughed softly. "A little nervous." I smiled. "Me too." He looked relieved. "Good. I thought I was the only one." I laughed. "No. I think there are many students feeling the same way." Just then, another voice joined the conversation. "Excuse me?" We both turned around. A young woman was standing beside us. She looked friendly. "Is anyone sitting here?" She pointed to the empty chair nearby. Daniel shook his head. "No. Please." She smiled. "Thanks." She placed her backpack on the floor. "My name is Aika. I'm from Japan." "It's nice to meet you." "I'm Sarah. I'm from Italy." "I'm Daniel. I'm from Brazil." Aiko smiled. "We already have 3 countries?" Daniel laughed. "And 3 different accents." We all smiled. That made the conversation feel easier. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Daniel looked at Aiko. "What do you do?" "I work in a hotel." "What about you?" "I'm a graphic designer." He looked at me. "And you?" I smiled. "I worked in a design studio. But now, I want to improve my English so I can work internationally one day." Daniel nodded. That's a great goal. What about you, Aiko? She smiled. I love traveling. I want to speak English with people from everywhere. I liked that answer. It wasn't about exams or grades. It was about people. Just then, a cheerful voice echoed across the lobby. Good morning, everyone. Several students turned around. A woman in her 30s walked toward us. She had a warm smile. She looked confident, but relaxed. Welcome to Riverside Language Center. My name is Emily. I'll be helping new students this morning. She looked around the room. I know some of you are excited. A few students laughed. I also know some of you are nervous. Almost everyone smiled. Emily laughed. That's completely normal, she continued. I have one small request. When you meet someone today, please don't worry about making mistakes. Just talk. That's how learning begins. I looked at Emma. She smiled. Without saying a word, we both remembered what Lucas had said yesterday. The same advice. Again, maybe successful learners really did think this way. Emily clapped her hands once. Before we go to our classrooms, I have a simple activity. She held up a small basket. Inside, there were colorful cards. Each of you, please take one card. When you find someone with the same color, introduce yourself and ask 3 simple questions. The room became lively. Students walked toward the basket. I reached inside. I pulled out a green card. Daniel looked at his. Blue. Aiko smiled. Yellow. So, we need to find green. I looked around the room. Many students were checking their cards. Then, someone across the lobby raised a green card. She looked at me, then at her card. Then she smiled. I think we're partners. I walked over. Hi, I'm Sarah. She smiled warmly. I'm Sophia. I'm from Spain. It's nice to meet you. You too. We both looked at the paper beside the basket. It said, ask these 3 questions. What's your name? Where are you from? Why are you learning English? Sophia smiled. I'll go first. What's your name? I'm Sarah. Where are you from? I'm from Italy. Why are you learning English? I thought for a second. Then I answered, because I want to meet people. I want to travel. And I want more opportunities. Sophia smiled. I like that answer. My turn. Of course. What's your name? I'm Sophia. Where are you from? I'm from Spain. Why are you learning English? She laughed. My family loves traveling. They're always talking to people. I'm always smiling. But I can't always join the conversation. So, I decided to change that. I nodded. I understand. She smiled. Maybe next summer. I'll travel in English. And maybe I'll visit Italy. I laughed. You're welcome anytime. For the first time that morning, speaking English didn't feel like homework. It felt like opening a door. A door. To new people, new places, and new opportunities. Just then, Emily's voice filled the lobby once more. Excellent, everyone. In 5 minutes, you'll meet your teachers. My heart started beating faster again. The next person I was about to meet would be the teacher who would begin changing my English forever. The lobby slowly became quieter. Students finished their conversations. Some were still smiling. Others looked a little nervous again. I looked at my name tag. Then around the room. Just a few minutes ago, I didn't know anyone. Now, I already knew Daniel, Aiko, and Sophia. Maybe making friends wasn't as difficult as I had imagined. Emily smiled at everyone. Thank you. You all did a wonderful job. I hope you've already learned a few new names. Many students nodded. Now, let's meet your teachers. She picked up a clipboard. I'll call your names. When you hear your name, please follow your teacher. One by one. Teachers walked into the lobby. Each of them greeted the students with a smile. A tall man wearing glasses, a cheerful young woman, an older teacher with gray hair. Everyone looked friendly. Emily looked down at her list. Class A. Several students stood up. She continued reading. Class B. More students followed another teacher. Then she smiled. Class C. My heart started beating a little faster. Sarah. Daniel. Aiko. Sophia. I looked at the others. We smiled at each other. That felt comforting. At least, I wouldn't be walking into the classroom alone. A woman with curly brown hair stepped forward. She smiled warmly. Good morning, everyone. My name is Claire. I'll be your teacher. Her voice was calm, friendly, easy to understand. I know today is your first day, so let's make one promise. She looked at all of us. No pressure. No perfect English. Just learning. Everyone smiled. I like that, Daniel whispered. So do I. Claire laughed softly. I heard that. The whole group laughed together. The nervous feeling became a little smaller. We followed Claire upstairs. The classroom was bright. Large windows filled the room with sunlight. There were colorful posters on the walls. One said, "Mistakes help us learn." Another said, "Speak English every day." I smiled. Those words made me feel comfortable. Claire pointed around the room. Please, Sit wherever you'd like. There were about 15 students. Some chose seats near the front. Others preferred the back. Daniel looked at me. Want to sit together? Sure. Aiko joined us. Sophia sat at the next table. Claire waited until everyone was seated. Then she wrote one question on the whiteboard. What makes you happy? She turned around. No grammar. No difficult vocabulary. Just one simple answer. She smiled. I'll go first. She pointed to herself. I'm happy when I spend time with my family. Then she smiled. And when I see my students improving. She looked around the room. Who would like to go next? For a moment, the room was completely quiet. Everyone looked at the floor, or at the board, or at their notebook. I could almost hear everyone thinking. Should I speak? What if I make a mistake? Claire didn't rush anyone. She simply smiled and waited. After a few seconds, Daniel slowly raised his hand. Claire smiled. Thank you, Daniel. He stood up. I'm happy. When I play football and when I eat pizza, the whole class laughed. Claire laughed too. Wonderful answer. Simple. Clear. And now I'm thinking about pizza. Everyone laughed again. Daniel sat down, looking much more relaxed. Claire looked around the room again. Who's next? This time, before I could change my mind, my hand went up. Claire smiled. Thank you, Sarah. I stood up, took a small breath, then smiled. I'm happy. When I travel, when I learn something new, and when I drink coffee with friends. Daniel looked at me. He whispered, Good answer. I smiled. Claire nodded. I like that. Thank you for sharing. As I sat down, I realized something. Nobody had laughed at my English. Nobody had corrected every word. Nobody expected perfection. They simply listened. And that small moment changed something inside me. For the first time, I wasn't speaking English to avoid mistakes. I was speaking English to share who I am, one by one. The other students stood up. A young man from Mexico smiled. I'm happy when I cook with my grandmother. A woman from South Korea said. I'm happy when I read books. Another student from Turkey smiled. I'm happy when I listen to music. Every answer was different, but every answer felt honest. Claire nodded after each one. Thank you. Wonderful. Great job. She never interrupted. She never rushed anyone. When the last student finished, Claire smiled at the class. See? You've already had your first English conversation. Several students looked surprised. Claire laughed. You didn't need difficult grammar. You didn't need big words. You just needed something real to say. I liked that. Something real to say? Maybe that was the secret. Claire walked to the whiteboard again. She erased the question. Then she wrote 3 new ones. What do you like? What don't you like? What would you like to learn? She turned around. Now, I'd like you to work with a partner. Daniel looked at me. Partners? I smiled. Let's do it. We turned our chairs slightly toward each other. Claire walked around the classroom. If you forget a word, that's okay. If you need time to think, that's okay too. The important thing is to keep talking. Daniel looked at the first question. What do you like? I smiled. I like coffee. We already know that. He laughed. I also like reading, walking, and taking pictures. Daniel raised an eyebrow. Taking pictures? I nodded. My new friend Lucas is a photographer. He showed me some amazing photos yesterday. Daniel smiled. Maybe he'll teach you. I hope so. My turn? I like football, cooking, and old movies. Old movies? Really? He laughed. My grandfather loves classic films, so I watched them with him. I still do. I smiled. That's a nice memory. He nodded. It is. Then he pointed to the second question. What don't you like? I thought for a moment. I don't like waking up very early. Daniel laughed. Me neither. I don't like cold weather. I prefer sunny days. I smiled. We already have 2 things in common. He laughed. That's true. Then we looked at the final question. What would you like to learn? Daniel answered first. I'd like to speak English confidently. I'd like to understand movies without subtitles. I smiled. That's one of my goals too. What about you? I'd like to travel and never be afraid to start a conversation. Daniel nodded slowly. I think we'll get there. Before I could answer, Claire clapped her hands gently. Time's up. The room became quiet again. She smiled. I heard lots of wonderful conversations. You should all be proud of yourselves. Then she picked up a small box. I have something for everyone. She walked around the room, stopping at every desk. When she reached ours, she handed each of us a small notebook. The cover was simple, blue, with the school's logo. Across the front, 3 words were printed in white. Listen, speak, grow. I ran my fingers across the cover. I loved those words. Claire smiled. This notebook is your English journal. I'd like you to write in it every day. Just a few sentences. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be yours. I opened the first page. At the top, someone had already written a sentence. Every expert was once a beginner. I smiled. I had seen those words before. On the bookmark. At the bookstore. Maybe it wasn't a coincidence. Maybe I was supposed to remember them. Claire looked around the classroom. I have a challenge for you. When you go home today, write about your first day. 3 sentences. 5 sentences. 10 sentences. It doesn't matter. Just write. Your English grows. every time you use it. I quietly looked at my notebook. Then I picked up my pen. Without thinking, I wrote my first sentence. Today was a good day. It wasn't a difficult sentence. It wasn't impressive, but it was true. And somehow, it felt like the perfect place to begin. I looked at my notebook, then at the sentence I had written. Today was a good day. I smiled. It was simple, but it was true. Claire walked slowly around the classroom. She looked at everyone's notebooks. When she reached my desk, she stopped for a moment. She read my sentence. Then she smiled. Sometimes, the simplest sentences are the most meaningful. I looked at her. I almost wrote something longer. She smiled. You'll have plenty of time for that. But today, this sentence is perfect. Those words gave me confidence. Maybe learning English wasn't about using difficult words. Maybe it was about saying something honest. Claire looked at the clock. We still have a few minutes. So, I'd like to show you one more thing. She opened a cabinet. Inside, there were dozens of books. Some were very thin. Others were much thicker. She carried a few of them to the front of the room. These are graded readers. They're written for English learners. She held up the easiest one. You don't need to understand every word. You only need to enjoy the story. I smiled. That reminded me of the book I had bought yesterday. Claire continued. If reading feels difficult, start with one page. If one page feels difficult, read one paragraph. If one paragraph feels difficult, read one sentence. She smiled. But don't stop. The classroom became very quiet. Everyone was listening. Then she asked, Can anyone tell me? Why stories help us learn a language? A few students thought quietly. Then Sophia raised her hand. Because they're interesting. Claire smiled. Yes. Daniel raised his hand. We remember stories better than lists. Excellent. Then, without planning to, I raised my hand too. Claire smiled. Sarah. I took a small breath. When we care about the people, we want to understand what happens next. Claire's smile became even bigger. I couldn't have said it better. She looked around the classroom. That's exactly why we learn through stories. In a story, words have feelings. They have memories. They have meaning. I looked down at my notebook again. Maybe that was happening to me. I wasn't memorizing words anymore. I was collecting moments. The classroom door opened gently. Another teacher smiled. Sorry to interrupt. Claire nodded. No problem. The next class will be here in a few minutes. Claire looked back at us. I guess that's our time. A few students sighed. Daniel laughed. That went by fast. It did. Claire picked up her notebook. Before you leave, I'd like everyone to do one thing. She pointed around the room, turned to someone, shake hands, and say, "See you tomorrow." Everyone stood up. Chairs moved. People smiled. I turned toward Daniel. He held out his hand. "See you tomorrow." I shook it. "See you tomorrow." Then I turned to Aiko. "See you tomorrow." She smiled brightly. "See you tomorrow." Sophia waved. "Don't forget your homework." I laughed. "I won't." As we walked toward the door, Claire called my name. "Sarah?" I turned around. "Yes." She smiled. "I read your application before you arrived. You wrote that your dream is to speak English confidently." I nodded. "Yes." She looked at me for a moment. Then she said, "I don't think your biggest challenge is your English." I looked surprised. "It's believing that you're already capable of more than you think." For a second, I didn't know what to say. Then I smiled. "Thank you. I'll remember that." She nodded. "I hope you do." Outside the classroom, the hallway was full of students. Some were introducing themselves. Others were making plans for lunch. Daniel looked at me. "A few of us are going to a small cafe near the school. Would you like to come?" Before yesterday, I probably would have said, "Maybe next time." Today, my answer was different. "I'd love to." Daniel smiled. "Great. Let's go." As we walked down the hallway together, I realized something. When I arrived in this city, I knew no one. Now, I already had people waiting for me. People who knew my name. People who smiled when they saw me. People who said, "See you tomorrow." Maybe that's when a new place starts to feel like home. And somehow, without even noticing, my English journey had become much more than learning a language. It had become the beginning of a new life. End of episode 3. Next time. Sarah has lunch with her new classmates. A simple conversation turns into an unexpected invitation. And a small misunderstanding leads to one of the funniest moments in her English journey so far. See you in episode 4. Hello, my friend. Welcome back to Learn English Daily. I'm Sarah. I'm so happy you're here. Last time, I finished my first English class. I met wonderful people from different countries. I learned something important. I don't have to speak perfect English. I just have to keep speaking. Today, after class, a new adventure is waiting. Let's begin. We walked out of the classroom together. The hallway was busy. Students were talking. Some were laughing. Others were looking at maps of the school. Daniel looked at me. "So, are you hungry?" I laughed. "Very hungry." "I didn't eat much this morning." He smiled. I know a nice cafe. It's only a few minutes away. Aiko joined us. I'd love some coffee. Sophia smiled. And I'm hungry too. Daniel looked around. Should we invite Emma? Oh, yes. I smiled. She's downstairs. We walked toward the lobby. Emma was sitting on a chair near the entrance. She looked up from her phone. There you are. How was your class? It was great. I met new friends. Emma smiled. I can see that. Daniel waved. Hi, I'm Daniel. I'm from Brazil. Aiko. From Japan. Sophia? From Spain. Emma laughed. Wow. This school really is international. It is, I said. And everyone is very kind. Daniel pointed toward the street. Ready for lunch? Everyone nodded. The weather was beautiful. The sky was bright blue. A soft breeze moved through the trees. People were walking slowly. Some students were riding bicycles. Others were sitting outside with coffee. This city feels peaceful, I said. Emma smiled. That's one of the reasons I love it here. As we walked, Daniel pointed across the street. There it is. I looked up. The cafe had large windows. There were flowers outside. A small chalkboard stood beside the door. It said, Today's special, tomato soup, grilled chicken sandwich, fresh lemonade. Aiko smiled. It looks nice. It smells nice too. Daniel laughed. Wait until you try the food. We walked inside. The cafe was warm and cozy. Soft music was playing. People were chatting quietly. Someone was reading a book near the window. A young waiter greeted us with a smile. Hello. Welcome. Table for 5? Daniel answered. Yes, please. This way. We followed him to a round table near the window. This is perfect, Emma said. We all sat down. I looked around. The cafe felt comfortable. It wasn't crowded. It wasn't noisy. It felt like a place where people enjoyed spending time together. The waiter handed each of us a menu. Take your time. I'll be back in a few minutes. Thank you. We answered together. I opened the menu. There were so many choices. Soups, salads, sandwiches, pasta, rice bowls, desserts, fresh juices, coffee, tea. I smiled. I can understand most of this. Emma looked at me. That's because your English is already improving. I laughed. I hope so. Daniel looked at the menu. I always order the grilled chicken sandwich. It's my favorite. Sophia smiled. I want to try something different every time. Iko nodded. Me too. I like trying local food. Emma looked at me. What about you? I thought for a moment I'd like something light, and definitely coffee. Everyone laughed. Of course, Daniel said. We already know you love coffee. I laughed too. That's true. A few minutes later, the waiter returned. Are you ready to order? Daniel nodded. I'll have the grilled chicken sandwich. And an iced tea? Great. The waiter wrote it down. Emma smiled. I'd like the tomato soup and a green salad. Excellent. He turned to Aiko. I'll have the pasta and sparkling water. Perfect. He looked at Sophia. I'll try today's special. And fresh lemonade? Good choice. Then he looked at me. I smiled. I'd like the chicken wrap. For a second, I couldn't remember one word. I knew it. But suddenly, it disappeared. I looked at the menu again. I felt everyone waiting. My mind went completely blank. I smiled nervously. I'm sorry. I forgot the word. The waiter smiled kindly. No problem. Take your time. Daniel leaned toward me. What are you looking for? The potatoes? The long, thin ones. Daniel smiled. French fries. My face lit up. Yes. French fries? I laughed. Thank you. The waiter smiled. So, the chicken wrap with French fries? Yes, please. And a latte. Hot or iced? I thought for a second. Hot, please. Perfect. I'll bring your drinks first. Thank you. As the waiter walked away, I laughed. I can't believe I forgot the words French fries. Emma smiled. That happens to everyone, even in your own language. Daniel nodded. Sometimes I forget words in Portuguese. Sophia laughed. Me too. Aiko smiled. My English teacher always says, don't panic. Describe the word. Someone will help you. Emma pointed at me. And that's exactly what you did. I smiled. Maybe making mistakes wasn't as embarrassing as I used to think. Maybe. They were just another way to keep the conversation going. Outside the window, people walked past the cafe. Some carried shopping bags. Some were talking on their phones. A little girl waved happily at a dog walking by. The whole street felt alive. Daniel looked outside. I like sitting by the window. You can watch the world. I smiled. And the world becomes part of your conversation. He nodded. Exactly. Just then, the waiter returned with our drinks. 5 glasses. 5 smiles. Enjoy. Thank you. We all answered. I picked up my latte. It smelled wonderful. I took a small sip. This is really good. Emma smiled. I knew you'd like it. For a few moments, no one spoke. We simply enjoyed our drinks. Sometimes, silence with friends feels just as comfortable as conversation. Then Daniel smiled. So, I have a question. If you could travel anywhere in the world, where would you go? I looked at him, smiled, and thought carefully about my answer. Daniel smiled. If you could travel anywhere in the world, where would you go? For a moment, everyone became quiet. It was a simple question, but it made us think. Emma smiled. I already know my answer. Daniel laughed. You always answer first. She smiled. I know. I'd love to visit New Zealand. I've seen so many beautiful pictures. The mountains, the lakes, the nature. It looks peaceful. Daniel nodded. I've heard it's amazing. Aiko smiled. I'd like to see New Zealand too. Then she looked at me. What about you, Sarah? I looked down at my coffee, then smiled. I think I'd like to visit Japan. Aiko looked surprised. Really? Yes. I've always wanted to see Tokyo. And Kyoto. I'd love to see the cherry blossoms. Aiko smiled warmly. You should come in the spring. It's beautiful. Daniel laughed. I think we'll all start traveling together. Everyone laughed. What about you? I asked him. He smiled. I want to visit Italy. I looked surprised. Italy. He nodded. I've always wanted to eat real Italian pizza. Everyone laughed. And real Italian pasta. I laughed. I think you'll enjoy both. Sophia smiled. I'd love to visit Canada. Emma looked at her. My country? Yes. I want to see snow. Emma laughed. You can have some of ours. Sometimes we have too much. Everyone laughed again. The conversation felt easy, natural. Nobody was trying to use difficult English. Nobody was worried about making mistakes. We were simply sharing ideas. A few minutes later, our food arrived. The waiter carefully placed each plate on the table. The grilled chicken sandwich, the tomato soup, the pasta, the special of the day, and the chicken wrap with French fries. He smiled at me. This time, I remembered. Everyone laughed. So did I replied. The waiter smiled. Enjoy your meal. The food looked delicious. Everything smelled fresh. Daniel picked up his sandwich. Before we eat, I have another question. Emma smiled. You always have questions. He laughed. I know. He looked around the table. What's your favorite food from your country? Aiko answered first. Sushi. But not the kind many people know. There are so many different kinds. I hope you can try them one day. I'd love that, I said. Sophia smiled. In Spain? I love pajella. My grandmother makes the best one. Emma smiled. My favorite is poutine. Daniel looked at me. I've always wanted to try it. Emma laughed. You should? It's simple, but delicious. Then everyone looked at me. I smiled. My favorite is homemade lasagna. My mother makes it every Sunday. For a second, I wasn't thinking about English. I was thinking about home, about my family, about sitting around the table together. Daniel noticed my smile. You miss home? He said softly. I nodded. A little? It's exciting to be here, but I also miss my family. Emma smiled kindly. I think everyone feels that way. Aiko nodded. When I first arrived, I called my parents every evening. Sophia smiled. My mother still sends me pictures of dinner. Everyone laughed. Does she? Every day. We laughed again. It felt comforting. Different countries, different languages, but the same feelings. Daniel raised his glass. 2 new friends. Everyone lifted their drink. 2 new friends? We smiled and took a sip. For a moment, everything felt perfect. Then, something unexpected happened. The waiter walked back to our table. He was carrying another plate. He looked around, then smiled. Who ordered the spicy chicken burger? We all looked at each other. No one answered. The waiter checked his notebook. Table 7? Daniel smiled politely. I don't think that's us. The waiter looked confused. I'm sorry. Wrong table? He laughed. So, nobody wants a free burger? Daniel quickly raised his hand. I do. The whole table burst into laughter. The waiter laughed too. Nice try. But I need to take it to the right customer. Daniel placed his hand on his heart. I had to ask. Even people at the next table smiled. The waiter walked away. Still laughing, Emma shook her head. Daniel, you never miss a chance. He grinned. I thought it was worth trying. We couldn't stop laughing. That small moment made us feel even more comfortable together. Sometimes, friendship begins with something as simple as laughing at the same joke. After lunch, our plates were almost empty. Only a few French fries were left. Daniel looked at them, then looked at me. You're not going to finish those? I smiled. No. He pointed at them dramatically. May I? I laughed. Of course. He picked up one fry, held it in the air, and smiled. I'll never forget this word again, he said. French fries. Everyone laughed once more. I smiled. He was right. I was certain I would remember those words. For a very long time, the waiter returned with the bill. He placed it gently on the table. There you go. No hurry. Thank you. Daniel reached for it first. I can pay. Emma smiled. Nice try. We'll split it. Sophia nodded. That's easier. Aiko agreed. Yes. Everyone pays for their own meal. I listened carefully. Split the bill? That was a new expression. Emma noticed me thinking. Do you know what split the bill means? I think so. It means everyone pays part of the bill. Exactly. She smiled. It's a very common expression. I repeated quietly. Split the bill. Daniel smiled. You'll hear that phrase a lot. I laughed. I'll remember it. A few minutes later, we walked outside. The fresh air felt wonderful. The sun was warm, but not too hot. People filled the sidewalks. Some were shopping. Some were talking with friends. Others were sitting outside cafes with coffee. Emma looked at her watch. I have another class in 30 minutes. I should go. Aiko nodded. Me too. Daniel smiled. What about you, Sarah? I don't have another class today. I was thinking about exploring the neighborhood. Sophia smiled. I need to buy a notebook. My English journal is already full. Daniel laughed. Already? She smiled. I like writing. I write every evening. I looked at her. Really? What do you write about? My day. My feelings. New words. And sometimes, my mistakes. I looked surprised. Your mistakes? She nodded. Yes. I don't want to forget them. When I write them down, I usually remember the correct way. Emma smiled. That's actually a great idea. Daniel nodded. I might start doing that too. I thought about Claire's words. Write every day. Maybe she was right. Little by little, English becomes part of your life. Not because you study all day, but because you use it. Emma looked toward the street. There's a small bookstore nearby. Would anyone like to come? My eyes became bright. A bookstore? Definitely. Daniel laughed. I knew you'd say yes. You already bought one book yesterday? I know. I smiled. But I like bookstores. They're quiet and they smell nice. Everyone laughed. I understand, Emma said. So, let's go. We walked together along a narrow street. There were small shops everywhere. A bakery, a flower shop, a bicycle store, a tiny music shop with guitars in the window. Daniel stopped for a second. Listen. We all became quiet. From somewhere nearby, a man was playing the violin. The music floated through the street. People slowed down. Some stopped to listen. A little boy began dancing. His mother laughed. I smiled without saying anything. Sometimes, you don't need words. Music can say enough. Aiko took out her phone. May I take a picture? Of course, Emma replied. But don't forget to enjoy the moment too. Aiko smiled. Good point. She put her phone away. We listened for another minute. Then Daniel looked at me. So, Sarah, what's been your favorite moment since you arrived? I didn't answer immediately. There were so many memories already. The airport, the taxi ride, Emma, the bookstore, the cafe, my first class, lunch with new friends. I smiled. I don't think it's just one moment. It's the people. The people I've met. Daniel smiled. I was hoping you'd say that. Emma nodded. A city becomes special because of the people in it. I looked around. Just a few days ago, everything here was unfamiliar. Now, I knew the streets. I knew where my school was. And most importantly, I knew people who made me smile. Maybe I wasn't just visiting anymore. Maybe I was beginning to belong. At the end of the street, Emma pointed ahead. There it is. A small bookstore stood on the corner. Warm light shone through the windows. Colorful books filled the displays. A handwritten sign on the door read, "Welcome. Come in and discover a new story." I smiled. Somehow, those words felt like they were written for me. I gently opened the door and stepped inside. I had no idea that the next book I picked up would lead to a conversation that would change my journey once again. The little bell above the door rang softly. A kind woman looked up from behind the counter. She smiled. "Welcome. Please take your time." Emma waved. "Hi, Maria." Maria smiled. "Emma, it's nice to see you again." Then she looked at the rest of us. "And your friends?" Emma nodded. "Yes, they're all new students." Maria smiled warmly. "Welcome. I hope you enjoy your time in our city." "Thank you." We answered together. The bookstore was peaceful. It smelled like paper, coffee, and old stories. Soft music played quietly in the background. Sunlight came through the large windows. It was the kind of place that made you want to stay. Daniel walked toward the travel section. Aiko found the photography books. Emma disappeared into the history section. Sophia picked up a small notebook. I slowly walked to a shelf that said, "English readers. Books for beginners. Books for intermediate learners. Books with short stories. Books with everyday conversations." I picked up a small blue book. Its title was simple, "A New Beginning." I smiled. It sounded familiar. As I turned the first page, a small piece of paper slipped onto the floor. I bent down and picked it up. It wasn't a bookmark. It was a handwritten note. It said, "Every language opens a new door. Every conversation changes a little part of your life." There was no name, no date, just those words. For a moment, I stood there quietly. Maybe someone had left the note by accident, or maybe Someone wanted the next reader to find it. I folded the note carefully. Then Maria walked over. You found it. I looked surprised. You know about this? She smiled. Yes. Many years ago. A student left that note inside the book, he said. Someone else might need those words one day. I looked at the paper again. It stayed inside all these years? Maria nodded. Sometimes people borrow the book. Sometimes they buy it. But somehow, the note always comes back. I smiled. That's incredible. Maria looked at me. Are you learning English? Yes. I just started. She smiled. I can tell. I looked surprised. Really? She nodded. You have the same look, the same curiosity, the same excitement. I've seen it many times. I laughed. I hope that's a good thing. It is. She paused for a moment. Can I give you one piece of advice? Of course. She smiled. Don't measure your progress by the words you don't know. Measure it by the conversations you couldn't have yesterday, but can have today. I became very quiet. Yesterday, I was nervous to order breakfast. Today, I ordered lunch. Yesterday, I didn't know anyone. Today, I had lunch with friends. Yesterday, I was afraid to speak. Today, I laughed. I asked questions. I answered questions. I made mistakes. And I kept talking. Maybe I really was improving. Not because my English was perfect, but because I wasn't afraid anymore. I looked at Maria. Thank you, I think. I needed to hear that. She smiled. I think you needed to discover it yourself. I bought the little blue book. And before leaving, I carefully placed the handwritten note back inside its pages. Maybe another student would find it one day. Maybe those words would help someone else. Outside, the afternoon sun filled the street with warm light. Daniel was waiting near the door. So, did you buy another book? I laughed. Yes. I couldn't help it. He smiled. I knew it. Emma looked at the shopping bag. What's the title? I smiled. A New Beginning. Nobody said anything. Then Emma smiled. That sounds perfect. As we walked toward the bus stop, I looked back at the bookstore one last time. Only a few days ago, everything around me felt unfamiliar. Now, every street held a memory. Every conversation taught me something. Every person I met made this city feel a little more like home. I realized something. Learning English was never just about learning words. It was about opening doors to new places, new friendships, new opportunities, and maybe to a new version of myself. I smiled, closed my notebook, and wrote one final sentence before going home. Every day, I become a little braver. End of episode 4. Next time, Sarah receives her first weekend invitation. She thinks it's just a walk in the park. But one unexpected message changes the entire day. Will she understand everything? Will she get lost? Or will her biggest adventure begin? With just 3 simple words. Are you free? See you in episode 5. Hello, my friend. I'm Sarah. Welcome back to Learn English Daily. I'm so happy you're here. This week, something exciting happened. It was my first weekend in my new city, and it all started with one simple message. Friday afternoon, our English class had just finished. Claire smiled at everyone. You worked very hard this week. I'm proud of you. Now, enjoy your weekend. See you on Monday. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you, we answered together. Everyone slowly packed their bags, books, notebooks, pens, water bottles. The classroom became quieter. Daniel stretched his arms. I'm finally free, Emma laughed. You say that every Friday? I know. He smiled. Because it's always true. Aiko closed her notebook carefully. I think I'll visit the museum tomorrow. Sophia smiled. I'm going to sleep. Everyone laughed. All day? Daniel asked. Maybe, she replied with a grin. I've had a busy week. We walked outside together. The weather was beautiful. The sky was bright blue. A cool breeze moved through the trees. People filled the streets. Some were riding bicycles. Some were walking their dogs. Others were sitting outside cafes. I looked around. Everything felt familiar now. Just 1 week ago, I didn't know these streets. Now, I recognized many places. The bakery, the bookstore, the little cafe, the bus stop. It felt nice. Emma smiled at me. So, what are your plans for the weekend? I laughed. I don't have any. Really? She looked surprised. Nothing at all? I shook my head. I was thinking about reading and maybe walking around the city. Daniel smiled. That sounds relaxing. But I think weekends are better with friends. I smiled. I agree. Emma looked at her phone. My bus is here. She waved. See you later. Bye. Take care. Aiko also left. So long. Have a nice weekend. You too. Soon? Only Daniel and I were standing at the bus stop. He looked at me. Did you enjoy your first week? I smiled. Very much. I was nervous on Monday. But now, I already feel more comfortable. Daniel nodded. That's how it starts. Every week gets easier. His bus arrived. He stepped onto the first stair. Then he turned around. I almost forgot. He smiled. Keep your phone with you tomorrow. I looked confused. Why? You'll find out? The bus doors closed. Daniel waved through the window. Then the bus disappeared around the corner. I laughed quietly. What was that about? I walked back to my apartment. The afternoon sun filled the streets with warm light. Children were playing in the park. A street musician was singing. Someone was walking a golden retriever. The city felt alive. When I arrived home, I made a cup of tea, changed into comfortable clothes, and sat by the window. I opened my new English book, the one I had bought yesterday, A New Beginning. I smiled. Then my phone vibrated. I picked it up. A new message. It was from Emma. Emma. Hi, Sarah. Are you free tomorrow morning? I smiled. Before I could answer, another message appeared. Daniel. We're planning something fun. Would you like to come? Then another message. Aiko. Please say yes. I couldn't help smiling. 3 messages. 3 new friends. 1 invitation? I looked at the screen for a few seconds. I wanted to answer, but I wasn't sure how. What should I say? Should I write? Yes. Or yes, I'd love to. Or maybe, sounds great. I thought carefully. Then I remembered something Claire had said. Don't be afraid. English becomes easier when you use it. I took a deep breath and started typing. Hi, everyone. Yes, I'd love to come. What time should we meet? A few seconds later, my phone vibrated again. Daniel replied first. Perfect. Let's meet at Green Park at 10 a.m., Emma added. Bring comfortable shoes. I smiled. Comfortable shoes? Why? Were we going hiking? Walking somewhere? Playing sports? I had no idea. Then Sophia finally joined the conversation. Don't worry. It's going to be fun. I laughed. Now, I was even more curious. I closed my book, looked out the window, and smiled. Tomorrow would be my first weekend adventure. With my new friends. Saturday morning, I woke up before my alarm. I felt excited. Today wasn't a school day. There were no classes, no homework, no tests. Just a day with friends. I looked at the clock. I still had plenty of time. I opened the curtains. The sun was shining. It was going to be a beautiful day. I smiled. Then I remembered Emma's message. Bring comfortable shoes. I looked at my shoes. I think these will be fine. I made breakfast. Toast, scrambled eggs, and a cup of coffee. While I was eating, I checked my phone. There was another message. Daniel, don't forget your water bottle. I laughed. He seemed very organized. I replied, Thanks. I won't forget. A few seconds later, he sent one more message. And don't be late. I smiled. I'll do my best. After breakfast, I packed a small backpack, my water bottle, a notebook, a pen, my phone, a light jacket, and my new English book, just in case. I left my apartment. The streets were peaceful. Many shops had just opened. People were enjoying their morning. Some were jogging. Some were walking their dogs. Others were sitting outside cafes with fresh coffee. Everything felt calm. As I walked, I suddenly realized something. I didn't know exactly where Green Park was. Oh, I should check. I opened the map on my phone. Green Park. There it was, 20 minutes away. I started walking. At first, everything was easy. The blue line on the map showed the way. I followed it carefully. Left. Right? Straight ahead. Simple. Then, I looked up for a second. A street musician was playing the guitar. People stopped to listen. I smiled. The music was beautiful. I watched for just a moment. Then I continued walking. 5 minutes later, I looked back at my phone. The blue line had disappeared. I frowned. Wait, this doesn't look right. I looked around. The street seemed unfamiliar. The cafe wasn't there. The bakery wasn't there. Even the buildings looked different. I had taken the wrong street. Oh no. I laughed quietly. This is my first time getting lost. I wasn't worried, just a little confused. I looked around. Across the street, an elderly man was walking slowly with his dog. He smiled kindly. I walked over. Excuse me? He stopped. Yes? Could you help me? Of course. I'm trying to find Green Park. He smiled. You've gone a little too far. Oh, I laughed. I thought so. He pointed behind me. Go back to the traffic light. Turn left. Then walk straight for about 5 minutes. You'll see the park on your right. I repeated slowly. Go back. Turn left. Walk straight. 5 minutes? The park is on my right. He smiled. Exactly. Thank you very much. You're welcome. Have a wonderful day. You too? As I walked away, I repeated the directions again. Go back. Turn left. Walk straight. The park is on the right. Repeating them helped me remember. A few minutes later, I saw a large green sign. Green Park. I found it. I smiled proudly. I wasn't lost anymore. Near the entrance, there was a small coffee stand. The smell of fresh coffee filled the air. I checked the time. I still had 10 minutes. Perfect. I walked to the counter. A young barista smiled. Good morning. Good morning. What can I get for you? I'd like a small iced coffee, please. Sure. Anything else? I looked at the display. Fresh muffins, chocolate cookies, croissants, banana bread. Everything looked delicious. I smiled. One chocolate chip cookie, please. Great choice, he replied. That'll be $6. I paid. Thank you. My pleasure. A minute later, he handed me the coffee. Enjoy. Thanks. I took my first sip. It was cold, sweet, and refreshing. Just then, someone gently covered my eyes from behind. Guess who? I laughed immediately. Daniel? He removed his hands. What gave it away? I smiled. Only you would do that. He laughed loudly. You're right. Then Emma appeared. I told him not to scare you. Daniel shrugged. I wasn't scaring her. I was saying hello. Aiko arrived a moment later, holding a small paper bag. I brought snacks. Sophia smiled. I knew you would. We all laughed. It felt so natural, like we had known each other for much longer than 1 week. Daniel looked around at everyone. Is everybody ready? Emma smiled. For what? Daniel grinned. For today's adventure? We looked at each other. Nobody knew what he was talking about. He reached into his backpack, pulled out 4 folded pieces of paper, and smiled. I made a surprise for all of you. He handed 1 paper to each of us. Don't open it yet. Emma laughed. You're making this mysterious. Daniel smiled. Exactly. Trust me. This is going to be fun. We all looked down at the folded paper in our hands, then looked back at Daniel. I had no idea that this simple piece of paper was about to turn an ordinary Saturday into a day I would never forget. Daniel looked around. Is everyone ready? We nodded. He smiled. Okay, now, you can open your paper slowly. We unfolded the papers. Mine said, find the red bridge. Below that, there were 3 simple clues. Clue 1, walk to the lake. Clue 2, cross the small wooden bridge. Clue 3, look for something red. I looked up. What is this? Daniel smiled. It's a treasure hunt. Emma laughed. I knew you were planning something. Aiko clapped her hands. This is going to be fun. Sophia smiled. I haven't done a treasure hunt since I was a child. Daniel pointed toward the park. We'll stay together. But each of you should read the clues. Try to understand them. If you don't know a word, ask. That's today's English practice. I smiled. I like that. We started walking. The park was beautiful. Tall trees surrounded the walking paths. Birds were singing. Children were laughing. Families were having picnics. People were riding bicycles. The air felt fresh. Emma looked at my paper. What's your first clue? I read it aloud. Walk to the lake. She smiled. Can you see the lake? I looked around. Then I pointed. Over there. Exactly. Daniel smiled. Great job. We walked toward the water. The lake sparkled in the sunlight. Several ducks were swimming peacefully. A little girl was feeding them with her father. I smiled. They're so cute. Emma nodded. I come here sometimes. It's one of my favorite places. Daniel looked ahead. What's the second clue? I read it slowly. Cross the small wooden bridge. Aiko looked around. I think I see it. She pointed to a narrow bridge. It wasn't very big. It crossed a small stream that flowed into the lake. Daniel smiled. Let's go. As we walked across the bridge, I stopped for a second. The water below moved gently. I could hear the birds, the wind, the leaves. Everything felt peaceful. Sophia smiled. What are you looking at? The water, I replied. It's relaxing. She nodded. I know what you mean. Sometimes you don't need to say much. You can simply enjoy the moment. After crossing the bridge, we looked around. Now, Daniel said, what's the last clue? I smiled. Look for something red. Emma laughed. That could be anything. We all looked in different directions. A red flower, a red bicycle, a little boy wearing a red cap. Daniel folded his arms. Look carefully. There is only one correct answer. Aiko suddenly pointed. There, in the distance, a small red bridge crossed another part of the stream. Daniel smiled. We found it. When we arrived, there was a small wooden box under a bench. It had a note attached. Congratulations! You've solved the first challenge? Emma picked up the box. What do we do now? Daniel smiled. Open it. Inside, there were 5 small envelopes, one for each of us. I opened mine. Inside was another note. It said, ask someone a question today. I smiled. That sounded easy. Emma opened hers. Take a photo of something beautiful. Aiko laughed. That's perfect for me. Daniel opened his. Make someone laugh. Everyone laughed immediately. You've already completed yours, Emma said. Daniel grinned. I thought so too. Sophia opened her envelope. Learn one new English word. She smiled. I can do that. Finally, Emma opened hers. She read it silently, then smiled. What does yours say? I asked. She looked at us. It says, help a stranger? We all became quiet for a moment. Daniel smiled. I wanted today's adventure to be more than just a game. I wanted us to create good memories and maybe to make someone else's day a little better. Nobody spoke. We simply smiled because we all understood. Sometimes the best adventures are not about where you go, they're about what you do and who you share them with. Just then, a voice called from behind us. Excuse me? We all turned around. An elderly woman stood nearby. She was holding a folded map. She looked a little confused. She smiled politely. I'm sorry. Could you help me? Emma looked at the rest of us, then smiled. I think this is our first challenge. I took a small step forward. My heart beat a little faster. This time, I wasn't ordering food. I wasn't introducing myself. I wasn't speaking inside a classroom. I was about to have a real conversation with someone I had never met before. The elderly woman smiled kindly. I'm looking for the rose garden. I think I'm going the wrong way. I looked at Emma, then at Daniel, then back at the woman. For just a second, I felt nervous. Could I really do this? Then I remembered something. Last week, I was afraid to order breakfast. Yesterday, I ordered lunch without any problems. Today, maybe I could help someone. I smiled. I'll try. I looked at the map in her hands, then at the signs around us. Daniel whispered softly. You can do it. I took a slow breath. I think you should go straight, then turn right. You'll see the rose garden. The woman listened carefully. So, go straight, then turn right. Yes, I answered. She smiled. Thank you so much. You're very kind. You're welcome. She waved goodbye, then slowly walked away. We watched her for a moment. Daniel smiled proudly. You didn't need any help. I laughed. I guess not. Emma nodded. Your English is getting better. Aiko smiled. And more importantly, your confidence is getting stronger. Confidence. I liked that word. Maybe that was the biggest change. Not perfect English, not a perfect accent, just more confidence. We continued walking through the park. Soon, we reached a wide open field. Children were flying colorful kites. Families were sitting on picnic blankets. Someone was playing the guitar. Two little boys were kicking a soccer ball. The ball rolled toward us. Daniel stopped it with his foot. One of the boys ran over. Can you kick it back? Of course. Daniel gently kicked the ball. The boy caught it. Thanks. Have fun, Daniel replied. The boys ran away laughing. Emma smiled. Looks like you finished your challenge too. Daniel laughed. I made someone smile. I made someone laugh. And I returned a soccer ball. Today's going well. Everyone laughed. A few minutes later, We found an empty picnic table. We sat down together. Aiko opened her paper bag. I brought sandwiches. Sophia smiled. I brought apples. Emma opened another bag. I made cookies. Daniel looked at everyone, then opened his empty backpack. Everyone stared at him. That's it? Emma asked. He smiled. I brought my appetite? We all burst into laughter. You never change, Emma said. I'm glad, Daniel replied. We spent the next hour talking about movies, music, favorite foods, dream jobs, places we wanted to visit. Sometimes we spoke quickly, sometimes slowly. Sometimes we searched for words. Sometimes we made mistakes, but nobody cared because everyone was learning. As the afternoon became evening, the sun moved lower in the sky. Golden light filled the park. Long shadows stretched across the grass. It was beautiful. Emma looked at the sunset. I love this time of day. So do I said quietly. Daniel stood up. I have an idea. He took out his camera. Let's take a group photo. Everyone stood together. Daniel placed the camera on a bench, set the timer, then hurried back. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Click. The camera captured the moment. 5 friends, 5 different countries, 1 language, 1 unforgettable weekend. Daniel picked up the camera. The picture appeared on the screen. We all smiled. It turned out great, Emma said. It really did, I replied. As we walked toward the park exit, my phone vibrated. I looked down. It was a new message. The sender's name surprised me. Claire, my English teacher. I opened it. The message was short. Hi, Sarah. I have a small opportunity for you. Would you like to help welcome a new student on Monday? I stopped walking. Read the message again. A new student? Me? Help someone else. Just 1 week ago, I was the new student. I looked up. My friends noticed my surprised face. Is everything okay? Emma asked. I smiled, then showed them the message. Daniel's eyes became wide. No way! Emma smiled proudly. I knew she would ask you. I looked surprised. You did? She nodded. Because you always smile. You always try. And you make people feel comfortable. I looked at Claire's message one more time. Maybe. This was another new beginning. I smiled and typed my reply. Yes. I'd be happy to help. I pressed send, then slipped my phone into my pocket. As we continued walking, I realized something. When I arrived in this city, I was looking for someone to guide me. Now, someone was asking me to guide another person, and maybe That is what learning a language is really about. One person helps another, one conversation at a time, one smile at a time, one day at a time. Thank you for joining me today. I'll see you in the next episode, where someone new arrives. And this time, Sarah won't be the one saying, "I'm new here." She'll be the one saying, "Welcome."